Thanks so much for joining us. This is MeWe Fairs for Energizing Body, Mind, Heart, and Soul. This is our intuitive panel, our awakening panel. There are 5 of us on the panel tonight. Our panels online have themes, and our theme tonight is healing our inner child, our teenager. We had a panel earlier in the year on healing our inner child. It was a really popular panel, and we decided to continue with the theme, working with different ages of growing ourselves up. So today our focus is our teenager. We'll be sharing about who we are, talking about the theme, and then answering questions from the audience. We'll be taking, whatever question you have. It could be about the theme. It might be about something else, and having it be it's great to ask us a question that's something more personal and something that's deep, something that you would ask us sitting for a private session, knowing, of course, that we're in a group and that this is recorded and will be posted online. It's an opportunity for you to get feedback from probably all of us. For a low price. It's a 20 to 28 sliding scale or $12 for BIPOC folks as a step of making reparations. I've got the basic info in the chat. I think a few of you have arrived. Healing our inner grandparent, right? Exactly. We could go different generations in different directions, healing our ancestors. And exactly, we're parenting and really grandparenting ourselves too. So all these different layers. Oh, goodness. All right. Well, let's see. So we're going to go through, and describe who we are, how we practice, and then everyone, let's come back and talk about the theme after that. So if you can, aim to not talk about it as much when you're just doing your general introduction. And maybe let's go in the same order as we did for Facebook Live, if that works for everyone. So that would be DoveLight. You would be first. So go ahead and take a good 2.5 minutes. Let me find where my little rock is hiding. And I ideally will have my little rock, but who knows where I've hidden it. Well, if needed, I will hold this great big rock if time goes by. Yes, beautiful. And just to let you know to finish up soon. All right, DoveLight, go ahead and tell us about who you are and what you do.
Who am I? Oh, Lord, isn't that when you ask who am I, it feels like so deep. Like, am I a daughter? Am I a cousin? Am I a normal person? Am I a woman? Am I an alien, a hybrid? I don't know. Who am I? But anyway, for the purpose of this panel, I am DoveLight from DoveLight Oracle. You can find me at DoveLightOracle.com. It's my honor and blessings to be here in this space. I generally do not believe in coincidence, so I just be grateful because whoever is here is meant to hear the messages that resonate through all of us, and whoever will see this recording is meant to feel it that way if it resonates. I'm a regular person. I also love intuitive readings. I love art, but I realized that when you genuinely connect to your soul, you genuinely connect to the divine, whatever the divine is for you, have that space when you can be part of that oneness. It's almost like you can explain it, but through that, you can read energy, you can read messages. I love tarot because of the pictures, for the pictures in the art, but you generally in the symbology goes to your subconscious, to a soul level with the archetypes. That's where I do soul frequency tarot reading, but not only I'm reading, I also can hear the frequency of people's voices when I'm allowed to do so by their higher self, and I start getting soul information through it. Through that intuition, I can read fire, water, clouds, you name it. It's not like I'm a know-it-all because nobody knows it all, and I don't get bombarded by information all the time. Thank you, spirits. It's just that it is part of who we are once you tune into the oneness. And through the readings, usually I don't work with only by myself. Absolutely no. I have to have a connection with divine in order for me to get the information. And through that, based on the reading, you can either get divine insight from your higher self, from your soul, from your ancestors, from your past, you name it. I don't even know what's gonna come. And through that, if you feel like you're called to, we can do a healing session or a meditation guided session related to it, because the readings will see the energy as how it's flowing at the moment. But the healing session are actually the things that do the shifting. Some of the healing sessions that I offer are past life regression, because sometimes we still bring in a soul level debris, energies, entanglements, and things from the past. We don't remember because we're given the gift to start anew in this lifetime. But on a subconscious level, the soul knows, and sometimes it gets tricky with our multidimensionality. Ancestral healings, usually our soul if it resonates with you, will align their growing lessons to an ancestral pattern, a web. So when you're healing yourself, you're healing your ancestral lineage, but sometimes you can get caught up in an entanglement again, where you're reliving your past grandma's story, or there is no a good balance, or somebody forgot or denied, or there was a trauma there. And now because it wasn't resolved, the next generation have to clear it. And the point of that is you have to do it consciously, otherwise that's gonna run in the background. And that sometimes involves soul contracts as well, like releasing soul contracts. I love shamanic practices, clearing the cords, bringing the soul back, things like that. I love that. And basically that's what. And today, for coming today, I have a special, the code SUMMER for 20% off any session of choice or any reading. I think I speak more than 2 minutes now. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, DoveLight. Great. Anissa is next.
Hi, everyone. I'm Anissa Jade, and I do intuitive imagery readings. And the easiest way to explain that is I connect to your energy, and from your energy, I receive images, and from those images, I interpret them for you. I also do animal communication, but tonight I'm focusing mainly on the intuitive imagery readings. I don't have a lot of information like DoveLight shares of all the wonderful things that they do, but I hope that I'm helpful in helping to validate where you currently are in your life. I'm reassuring you where you are, and then we can look forward on how to move forward the best way possible for you through help from the divine with the imagery readings. My website's anissajade.com, and my special tonight is readings by donation if you go to my website, or if you contact me through Instagram or an email, which is anissajademeta@gmail.com. Thank you so much for being here tonight.
Great. And I'll just give you examples of things you could share if you want to. You could give us an idea like ahead of time, more of like how the images appear. Do you really see them, or like, and then what is your process of like discovering what they mean? And yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Did you want to say anything about that right now?
Yeah, so for me, the images, I get them fairly clear imagery in my mind's eye. They're not in color, but they're outlines, and sometimes I just have a sense and knowing of what they are. As far as interpreting them, I'm very blessed in that I just know what they are. I don't know where it comes from. It's just the divine working and me being able to understand the code that I'm getting, I guess is the best way you could describe it. And they're very basic imagery. Usually they're nothing too complex, so they're easy to understand for me, but they share a lot of wealth and knowledge and can provide comfort and validation. So yeah, that's a little bit more about it. Thank you for the prompts.
Great, great. Yeah, you're welcome. We're all learning to do this together. All right, sweet. Okay, Drasmin is next. Let's get you unmuted. Start over.
Hi, everyone. Blessings. Thank you for being here. So I am Drasmin. I am many things and I am none of them. Ultimately, I'm in this human experience just as all of you. So I'll share a little bit of my work and my personal life. I'm an artist. I'm a writer. I am a prayer form dancer. I'm a soul purpose activator, a trauma-informed coach, a multidimensional sound healer, and a shamanic guide. I offer Reiki and tarot sessions live over Zoom as well as in person, and I actually have some very special prices for June, July. I also create self-guided downloadable content that is self-paced to empower your being experience, as well as hands-on coaching intensives to shift you, to walk beside you pretty much every day for almost 3 months and shift you from surviving to thriving in mind, heart, body, spirit, so you can step fully into your most authentic, aligned self. Now, I work with all beings of all ages, yet I tend to attract those who are highly sensitive, neurodivergent on the autism spectrum, because I'm also on the spectrum as well, and I'm also highly sensitive. And my tarot readings are, you know, anywhere from just general life clarity questions to like deep past life, soul diving, what's going on, help me understand. Any of that ranges. And so my Reiki sessions also range from, you know, chakra clearing, realignment to full DNA body recalibration, you know, soul purpose activation, guiding you on shamanic journeys to really just uncover, you know, your divine blueprint, because we are innately whole, we are innately divine. And for me, the practice and the process of healing is to just strip away the layers of conditioning and programming, including, you know, working with the inner child and then the teenager and all the other layers, so that you can return to your innate divine presence and essence. What else can I share? I think that's my time.
It's great. You got a few more seconds if you want. How does this show up in your readings? Like practically, what are your readings like, and what are the different tools that you bring? You could have shared
So my
some,
readings, yeah, so my readings are a combination of, you know, pulling cards to really confirm and clarify your own intuition, your own inner knowing. I love using not just cards, but divination tools such as runes, and other tools. I don't know what the English word for it, but I have other divination tools, combination of pendulums and other tools to just, you know, bring together messages to just, you know, bring the subconscious out to the surface. Sometimes we can get so lost in like so much information happening. And I use these divination tools as a way to just like streamline the information and spotlight what was most beneficial to you in the immediate now.
Great, great. Thank you. Lovely. All right. And we have a new website for Coralea in here. I've got her link tree in here now. Their link tree. All right. So let's hear from Coralea. Oop, let's get you unmuted too.
Hi, I'm Coralea. My neurodivergent buttons are going off, and I'm like, ooh, everybody's saying just such wonderful things, and I really appreciate being here. And so I do soul-centered present moment readings. I channel guides and any other beings, different ethereal beings or any beloved that have passed. I hear them clearly in the back of my mind. I see them when they show up for me and you in a way when they want to be here and give me messages. I don't hear their voices and I don't clearly see everything, but there's just this knowing that moves through me and my voice. So when we're getting a reading and I'm doing tarot readings or oracle readings with you, what that looks like is me taking cues from the cards and really diving into what it is that you're going through at this moment. There are things that you probably were talking about last week with your best friends, or something that you're moving through right now that you felt like nobody knew about. Those types of things come up through our reading a lot. And I look really fun and I'm really tapped into embodiment of inner child, but my readings are really deep diving and I want to help facilitate people who want to like awaken their soul and go into what it is that they're contracted in this lifetime to do, and really figure out what are like the big bosses that you're needing to beat to get to that next level. So that way you can be receiving all those things, because like you get to a space where you have to face this truth, this boss, this energy, and let go of things, or welcome in things, or let go of a belief structure that maybe was yours from a different timeline, or maybe it was yours generationally. And then once you're able to do that, and I help coach and support you with cards that are anchoring cards and things like that, and different just relatable stories of my own experiences. And you move through that through your own self-empowerment that we're able to work through. And then you will just be so surprised at the amazing things that come through for you. Just It's like when you clean out your closet and you just feel so good that that closet's clean. And then you go to the thrift store and then you find the perfect dress that you've like been wanting for a really long time, but like never found. It's kind of like that. And I really love helping support people. For me, inner child work with my teenagers was the worst part of my life and very traumatic. And so I've done a lot of my own personal work. So this is actually something I know a lot about. And I've done a lot of ritual work. I've done a lot of movement and a lot of releasing and burning and rituals, and just completely tapping into my own subconscious and my spirit in order to really work through those kinds of things. So I really appreciate being here and helping anybody who wants to move through that too. Right now I'm doing a special offer. If you come contact me through email or through Instagram, I know that my information is in the text, but it's Hey Coralie on like TikTok and Instagram, and my email is Hart Coralie, and my Facebook is Coralie Hart. So if you type in my name, you'll find me. I'm offering $111 for a reading if you get a reading in person or in Zoom from this inner child talk. And yeah, so I think I did it.
Yeah, that's
Talked
great.
about myself.
It's great you did it. And I want to say too that Hart is spelled H-A-R-T for finding Coralea
That's
online.
true.
Great.
Old
All
family name, not the Hart.
Right. Yes. H-A-R-T. Okay, let's see. I got more people coming in. All right. And I'm Laureli Shimayo. I'm an intuitive eye reader. I read your eyes. I think that we all read each other's eyes all the time. I use archetypes to read your eyes. I talk about your purpose. I talk about that in terms of your natural talents, what you're naturally good at, what bothers you in the world that you want to change, make better, the motivation underlying that, and then the positive qualities you bring in that, and the challenges and lessons that you have as you bring that into the world. So we talk about your purpose, the lessons of your purpose, and how to align the facets of your purpose together in an expression of sharing it with the world, making a difference in the world. And then I help you strategically in more of a coaching and consulting kind of way. What are steps that you can take in your life so that you can express your purpose in the world with people that really want it? I can rewrite resumes, help you choose employers, what kind of job you might want to do, what kind of business you want to start, what part of it you do yourself, what part you do with others. Sometimes I connect you with people that might be great to do things with. So I love to match people, connect people. Someone asked me today, do I connect people for friends? I connect people for all kinds of things. One of my nicknames is Connectress. And I love to use my eye readings literally for romantic matchmaking too, for connecting with a soulmate. I believe that soulmates have similar souls, similar eyes. So for online dating, for example, I help you share your soul, bare your soul in your profile and what you write and your photos. And then I look through the eyes of potential dates and I help you find people that are like you, that really get you, where you would understand them and where you can connect really deeply together. I also do body psychology coaching. So I'm reading your body. It can be postures, gestures, ways that you touch yourself when you have itches, all kinds of things are meaningful. Oh gosh. And sometimes, if I'm thinking about that, I get all nervous. I have an itch. What does it mean? Can I scratch myself and all that stuff? So yeah, whatever. We all go through this.
Mhm.
And then, yeah, I mentioned I'm in Matchmaking. I also run all these MeWe Fairs events. Yeah, there's a little bit about me, and I have a special in the chat. I have 20% off my book on the 7 talents that I read in people's eyes. Yeah, so the sweet spot. So finding your sweet spot by knowing your 7 talents, by knowing your 3 of the 7 talents. Book is in the chat for today. All right. Well, let's see. So we are all here for a panel on the theme, healing our inner child or teenager. So you have a bit about us. You have a little sprinkling of what it means to us about healing our inner child or our teenager. So we'll specifically go around now and talk about what that is for us. What is that topic? How is it connected for us? Why did we choose to be on this panel? Yeah, like how we'd love to support you. Just any of those kinds of things about the theme. And we'll generally go in the order we were in before, unless someone wants to wait to go later. So that would mean DoveLight. If you're ready, you could jump up and be the first to share and go ahead and take a minute or two, or we're fluid, flexible in all this.
Because I'm babysitting my dog that relax. I'm like, my first time going first. teenager. The first thing that is coming up is that all of us have a different life experience. We all have different teenagers, and perhaps we might consider that we have some of very challenging and some is not so much challenging, but all of them were important for you. All of them were important for your life experience. What they're telling me right now, it's the one of the most important things that we have to remember is to have love and compassion for ourselves. Many of us, when we were teenagers, we were carrying certain patterns from the childhood that were not healed. So how are you going to blame a child for living the world or trying to live the world as an adult? Which means that please remember that if you can see yourself back at a time and acknowledge that you are just like everybody else in the sense that you were just a human learning, then please see your past experience as with compassion. Stop trying to put yourself down, but what coulda, shoulda, woulda done, because teenagers, we are meant to learn, we're meant to grow and expand. But how are we gonna grow if we don't make mistakes? How are we gonna grow if we don't get sick? Or how are we gonna grow if how are we gonna know stuff if we don't live through it? And many of our parents or caregivers guide us and tell us what to do, but sometimes we just are meant to experience them, to know what it's like to be there and to help others if in the future. But if anything, what I'm trying to get is that being a teenager, for many of us, especially the spiritual part, I noticed they have many patterns of suffering or feeling pressure, or in my case, for example, it was the energy feeling, like I was extremely sensitive to everything going around me. And I graduated from my country, but when I came here, they put me because of my age, because it was extremely pressure. It was to fit in, to be careful with the bullies, to the screaming, and to the drugs, people. Well, I remember that it was crazy. It was too much. It was very overwhelming. I didn't have no outcome or outcome to help. So to me, the best thing that I could do was remove myself from that system, because I didn't have nobody at that point of my life or help for guidance. So it was like more like protection. But I understand that many of us have different experience by growing as a teenager. I guess I can start by then give the word to somebody else. Thank you. I feel weird starting first.
No, it's great. Sometimes it's hard to start first on a theme. Yeah, and it's a theme we've never talked about before. All right, Anissa, go on and jump in.
Yeah, thank you. The main reason why I wanted to be on this panel, which I think a lot of us have gone through, is just certain tumultuous times during our teenage years. For me, it was health issues. That's when my genetic disorder really started to take over my world and become everything and anything I had to focus on. And so I really wanted to try to be here to show compassion and empathize with those who may share their stories as well, either the panelists or those who choose to ask a question or share in the chat. The big thing for me that really helped in my healing of my teenager, or the process, I guess I'm not healed, but the process of healing was really just acknowledging that she existed and to give her the compassion of, she was only like 13 years old, or she was only 15 years old, she was only 18 years old, and I'm 38 now. So just to remind myself of just how young and tender and sweet and that age range is, and acknowledging that and allowing that being to be who that being was at that time, knowing you did all that you could with the knowledge and the care and the grace that you had at that time. And so journaling became a big thing for me too, of journaling to my younger self and comforting my younger self. So again, tonight, I hope that we can all give ourselves some more compassion and some more grace as we go through a healing process together. So thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Anissa. Drasmin.
Hi there. So I feel that I just love this panel, and I'm so blessed and excited to be a part of this because for me, the teenager is the bridge between childhood and adulthood. And it is an aspect of healing that is so severely under-addressed. You know, I follow a lot of coaches over the years. And when I was going through my healing journey, nobody ever talked to me about healing my teenager. And as a teenager, I had a very fractured childhood and I was what they call a rageaholic. I lost count of how many mirrors I broke with my fists. Like I had so much rage and so much anger within me. And, you know, the teenager is really about the part where we bridge what we have learned as a child and really start to develop wisdom, because that's what wisdom is. It is what our knowledge applied into life experiences and then refining that process to really cultivate our S. So when we step into adulthood, we're prepared for life stuff that comes up. And when we don't have those resources as a child or we don't receive that, then there's a couple of things that can happen. We either shut down and disappear, or we come full flamethrower in, which I have a lot of fire. I have a grand fire trine in my chart. I didn't know any of this as a child or a teenager. So the teenager is so important because for me, it's also a rite of passage. For me, it's where you experience the death of innocence because you're no longer just like trusting with your parents. They're no longer coddling you, so to speak. You're in high school, you're in middle school. You know, I was a transplant from a different country and I moved to the US 2 years post 9/11. So I experienced all of this racism and hate, you know, being a brown woman of the veil. And so, you know, going through the death of innocence is something that needs tenderness. And when that isn't addressed, you know, I'm also a death doula. I didn't bring it up in my intro. We experience different deaths, and death is simply a transformation of one form to another. It's not just physical death. And so returning to that and recognizing that there's layers of healing, you know, you have the inner child, then you have the teenager, then you have the mom and dad, then you have your connection with God's source consciousness, the connection with the land, and then the connection with your lineage, with your ancestors. But learning how to cultivate that bridge of that childhood innocence to adulthood is a way, you know, healing the inner child is a way of the gift of healing the teenager is bringing back play into everyday life. Really bringing play into the seriousness of life. And my own work of healing and empowering myself and helping others in my coaching programs, you know, I go through that process of, okay, we're going to be soft and gentle, then we're going to bring playfulness, and then we got to bring discipline and like get things going. And then we got to combine everything to really get balance in everyday life so we can have innocence and playfulness and return innocence, but from that mindset of wisdom, which is integrated knowledge and experience. So that's what I have to say about healing the teenager and why it's so important, because it really is that bridge of innocence and maturity.
Great, thank you. Coralea.
Am I unmuted?
You are. Go
Okay.
for it.
So I just really wanted to tap in and talk about when we are working or feeling in, like, what is our inner teenager actually doing when we're an adult? And I know that my inner teenager comes up when I'm angry and when I'm resentful and when I have expectations and when things aren't going my way, or am I working too much? Am I not having space to breathe? Am I like adulting too hard? And so I noticed these things about me when those were coming up, and like, you know, like those feelings of like rage or like, what about me? And I think about when we're teenagers, like the point of like, it is the bridge between childhood and adulthood. And it's like that Britney Spears song, like, I'm, you know, a girl, but not yet a woman. I'm not a girl, but I'm not yet a woman. And there's also this way of like society and our parents, or even like, you know, like communities, like, you know, groups that you're a part of, or, you know, churches, or like any types of like, you know, gymnastics or theater or whatever you're into. And there's just this way of like, they're not treating you like you're young and like you're a child. And they're kind of have like a larger amount of expectations on you. And so there's a lot of demand, and there's a lot of like there, it's a little bit more harsh, like it's this harsh time. And I feel like because our bodies, and because we start looking like we're older, people start treating us in this different way, especially, you know, our parents. I know that this happens a lot for, you know, like cis women, and their fathers stop hugging them, or, you know, stop treating them in certain ways. And I feel like they're still children. Like from 13 to 19, you're still a child, and you don't have things put together. And there's just this societal putting it on you to like have your stuff together, and like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And there's just all this pressure. And I feel like when there isn't, and this is something that I just feel like a lot of people go through, because our parents are like doing their best, or whoever's raising us is doing their best. But like, we don't know what we want to do. We don't have all the answers, and nobody's really giving that to us. So I see that come up in me, because when I'm an adult, you know, I'm 38 years old. I've been, you know, in spiritual practice since I was a teenager, and doing tarot for a little bit over a decade or so. And when I get into this space of like, well, I don't really know what I'm doing. Like, how am I going to live? How am I going to pay my bills? Like, how am I going to raise my kids? Like, and that's when the inner teenager kind of is like, I want to be, you know, in charge of things, and I know what I'm doing, and you need to listen to me. And I kind of like tend to that. And I feel like that's like, you know, a lot of adults, when we have conversations, people, you're like, are you like, that doesn't really seem like you're acting your age. Well, that's because this person is living from their teenage space, and they're not healed, and they weren't helped through those kind of questionable moments. Like, who do you turn to, especially if you have had trauma in your teenagers and you didn't have resources or safe space to ask these questions, like about your car insurance, or, you know, like, if a person that comes to you doesn't feel safe to you, is that something that you could stand up for yourself? Like, there's just so much wrapped into it that like really pulls into our adulthood. So if you're ever like in your adult space feeling like, I wish there was a giant that would carry me around and help me, and like, where's the resources to support me? Like tap into that and really take a deep breath, and really look in and be like, wow, like, where was I not having that need met? And I think that like, that's where like the work comes through for me around that. So I hope that helps, and opens your mind up to maybe like have these kinds of questions that pull from that.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Thank you. And just, I think, let's see, so you and Anissa are about the same age. I'm 55. And then Jasmine and DoveLight, if you're willing to, are you willing to give us any general idea of like what your age is too? I just think it's interesting, the range that we have on the panel. If you're willing.
Sure. I'll be 35 in a few months.
Cool. And DoveLight?
I'm in my 30s.
Okay. Hi, sister. We're in our 30s.
Hello, everybody.
That's great. All of our ages. All right, cool. Yeah, I wanted to get an idea. I was wondering about that. So it's great that some of you shared. Let me share a little bit. Part of what's fun about going last, right? I get to take notes and think about stuff. Maybe in the end where I got in my notes is that for me, the teenage years, I think about me and I think about others. the thing that is so precious for me about that age is our rawness. And it's either that our rawness is out on the surface or our rawness is like hidden deep inside. And then so much more of life is digging to that and finding that and so loving that was in there, doing its best to get out. And let's see, I wandered around a little bit of, to me, immediately when I think of teenage years, I think about rebellion and shedding of masks. And I got to where first it was the masks our parents give us, and then it's the masks that our peers, peer pressure, right, that they give us. And so the teenage years is about putting on more masks and taking them off and fighting through taking them off, and whether we fight through or we collapse. And that we all have different approaches to that. Kind of that's being a little bit of an example of a range. And then sometimes what we do, whether we fight through or we attempt to fight through, or we're doing more collapsing, some of those are our soul lessons also, the who we are and how we approach this phase. I feel like this time in life is often about discovering that the way it was in our family, the way it was in our home, that it's not like that for lots of other people. So we're getting exposure to it being a new way. Yeah, so 13 to 19. So I was thinking too about how we're still teens, even though we're technically adults, we're still teens. You know, and we're in some ways we're given a lot of time to grow up slowly here, and in other ways we're not. We're rushed in really fast. Before I got to raw, I was talking about the healthy part is the wild one. So I totally think about the wild one and the rawness, and maybe this is particularly true of me, of it fighting. No, I'm totally fighting through and attempting to get out, and where I was collapsed also. For me, our teen years are where there's inside a part of us that's so insistent on being ourselves, and sometimes it's really hidden, and like we might be in touch with it and know. I know sometimes for me it was buried deep inside where it wasn't safe to share it, but I still was in touch with that part of me. I knew this part of me here. And Anissa, I love where you said young, tender, and sweet. So I do think of this as like an innocent, pure expression of who we are. That to me, it's either at the surface or attempting to find its way or staying protected so that it can come to the surface later. At this phase, like when I was a teenager, it was the first time that I had a conscious realization of how eyes are so important and how I had the sense that I see so much more in people through their eyes than biology had anything to explain to me. And I was getting ready to study biology and then studying biology in college. And yeah, so in high school, totally didn't explain as much as I pick up in people's eyes. And that I got that then and, you know, articulated that for me then. And then it turns into my life work. And Drasmin, you spoke about something about the not knowing and the stumbling. Maybe I wrote stumbling, but yeah, the not knowing. And I thought about shame, like it's our teenage years are a time when I think we take on a lot of shame, where we feel shame about who we are, whether we show up, not show up, what we did do, didn't do, all kinds of stuff around that. And yeah, so to me, then I got to the rawness. So coming to love our rawness, whatever it is in there, whether it showed up or was hiding underneath. Yeah, and so I think that unless most of us are still so much in a journey to love who we are as we show up now, as the essence of who we are discovering we are, and all these layers back of how we showed up. And the teenage year is such a rich time. Yeah, so loving all these layers. And wherever we don't, those lessons show up now. Yeah, so anyone else want to say anything else about teenage, healing our inner teenager?
Well, I love something that Coralea, if I'm saying it correctly, she said that, because that's something that has come up in my healing practices as well. We all have an inner child. We all have a teenager child. We have a divine masculine, divine feminine. That's part of us. We're meant to walk in balance or learn how to balance and navigate it. But sometimes when we suppress who we genuinely are, and teenagers are the times when we are trying to figure it out who we are. But sometimes if it's not acceptable for whatever reason, for society, your culture, your family, your background, you suppress it. But if you don't allow a safe space to heal it, it's going to be a suppression in the energy field. That's why some adults, they filter in a not so positive way, and you can see that some adults trying too hard, some adults trying to, for example, being so scared to be old or to get wrinkles or to do this and that, or dressing extravagantly in a way that is not healthy. Now, as an adult, as a being, you can do whatever you want. You can dress whichever you want. You are free to be yourself, but it is different to do it because you feel like that's the real you than out of fear because you feel like you missed something or you feel like you left behind something that you couldn't in an unhealthy way. So I feel like that allowing space in your life to allow your teenager to express itself in a healthy way, just like you will allow your inner child to be expressed in a healthy way, is generally very important. And when you were talking, I got this strong feeling that I wish with all my heart, with all my soul, with all my spirit, to have the DoveLight now, who is now, to talk to my teenager or to meet someone like me when I was a teenager, because I genuinely felt like I have nobody who understands me. I couldn't speak to anybody. Really, it was extremely hard. I have no guidance whatsoever. And I wish I could talk to myself as an adult. So in a way, right now, each of us and everybody who's listening to, you have the gift and the blessing to offer a safe space to teenager, and don't put them down, because you never know what gift they can generally bring to the world if they just need somebody just to listen to them. So that's a lot of healing right there, not only for ourselves, but for the community. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, DoveLight. Yeah, Drasmin.
I just want to thank you, everyone. You know, all of this information is so helpful to starting to unpack. First of all, you know, I use a lot of acronyms, and I do NLP in my work, so I follow the steps of the ABCs, because that takes us back to our child, the ABCs, and repatterning that. So first is acknowledging, you know, and this information is just bringing acknowledgement and awareness to this process. And then I want to tap into what Coralea, I apologize if I'm mispronouncing your name here, sister.
It's okay, it's Coralea.
Coralea, thank you.
Silent A.
Yeah, I love what she shared about this pressure, you know, and that's where I feel the breakdown starts to happen. It's like, for some reason, you know, all of a sudden you're this cute little adorable toddler, and then you go into middle school. At least that's what I've noticed here in the US when I tutored, and all of a sudden it's like, what do you want to be when I grow up? And it's like, I'm still a child. And then this pressure starts to culminate when, in fact, if you're looking at the biology, the literal development of the body, like the mind isn't even fully developed till you're in your late 20s, right? So there's all of this pressure to be and to perform, you know, be the valedictorian. You know, I was an honor student, very close to being a valedictorian, you know, be this, be that. And then there's cultural pressure and societal pressure, when I feel that, you know, by talking about this, and one of my big missions and purpose in life is to create an education reform where we literally just allow that development to continue with gentle support and guidance. Like, hey, it's time to start exploring, but, you know, let's transition. And I feel like that's where the restoration and the returning of the rites of passage is so important, to really just alleviate this toxic pressure of, you got to figure out college, you got to figure out your major, you got to do this, you got to do that, and you know, just working within ourselves first, because you know what we see externally is a reflection of where we're at, and sometimes, you know, I see a lot of parents who are still teenagers. There's a lot of teenagers walking around with children because they have literally been pressured to just, you know, become the adult. And there's this distorted belief that, oh, if I have a child, I'm automatically an adult. And then that vicious cycle continues to perpetuate itself. And so addressing that there's this toxic pressure is that next step of acknowledgement, because, you know, the body, the mind is not even developed. And, you know, we're talking about just, you know, you've had a happy, quote unquote, happy, supportive childhood, which in today's world is not the majority, shall we say. You know, there's so much pressure because we are literally at a timeline shift of breaking paradigms and cultural distortions, because we're literally shifting into a new way of being where people are developing faster, but they're not integrating it. as quickly. And so there is a dissonance between knowledge and information that's coming in, but the brain is literally not developed. And so we end up having crises, you know, early 20s crises, drug use, addiction, codependence, because the literal child just wants to play, but the play that is offered by society is drinking, drugs, peer pressure. You know, that's the new form of play. There's not a bridge and, you know, more conversation between us, within our homes, within our families, to start bringing more awareness to the education system that we really need to be gentle with the development of the mind and bring more understanding to the biology and how that is affected by our environment and sociology. So thank you so much for bringing the awareness of the pressure and the trapped teenager in the adult that has children, because there's way too much of that going on.
Yeah, I was thinking about all the different personality types that I look at, or all the different soul types. And when I was a teenager, the way I wanted to get other people to like me was that I worked hard to do well in school, to do better in school. And I thought that people might like me if I did better in school. So I actually felt more drive for it to have people like me in some ways than my parents, although I got punished when I didn't get, you know, an A. If I got an A-, I got in trouble. So I guess it came both directions. But yeah, so then I've had like a work hard thing my whole life. So yeah, it's like, so I didn't have as much of the play, but my play was to work hard. And so I had to fight in my family to be able to work hard. Like I had to fight to get a job. So just all these interesting, like divergent approaches and things like that. And that's why I was looking at all of our eyes, you know, as we all came together for the panel, you know, and I was seeing who was here. And I think I probably, of all of us, I have the most of the like work hard talent. And so I have the most lessons about that. I used to talk about how in college, the big thing that I missed, the thing that I could have done more of, like I should have done more of, was to play more. And then I think about the rest of my life, like, did I learn that lesson? So I turned more of work into play, but still, yeah. Oh gosh. So I just think there are all these
Yeah.
things, right? We want to play, and then, but at the same time, it's not play for everyone. Like play looks different, maybe. So who wanted to say something?
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to say that last part, play does look different for everyone. And that's a lot of like the teenage stuff is like comparing. We're, especially in America, I feel like this is very true. There is a complete setup of what it is that you're supposed to be, what is the best to look like, what does an average person like to do, or, you know, blah, de blah, you name it, fill in the blank. And we like the way of, you know, like finding the joy of what brings you joy. You might even be surprised that it's something that you've never even ventured out to, because it's so outside of the norm of what has been shown to you. And we have this fear of not performing up to a standard, and like a fear of failing. And I feel like failing is the new winning, because winners know they're going to fail, and failures think they're always going to win. And so we got to start taking some big mistake type of things and actions. And I feel like with the teenage thing, it's like you were saying, like if you didn't get a good grade, you would get in trouble. Like a lot of people were harshly treated for making mistakes in their teenage years, and because of that expectation of like growing up and things like that. And so I feel like a lot of fear that we have as adults to try new things, or to do things bad, or to do things wrong, I feel like is really big themes, like really big soul themes. And I feel like it like honestly goes back to timeline and like generational and past lives. And like, you know, if we think about, you know, our ancient cultures, like you were married and having babies at 15. Like in the 20s, 30s, 40s, it wasn't uncommon in the 50s. If you had a household where it wasn't safe for you and you found a person that was willing to marry you at 15, you were out of the house making babies. Like there wasn't really like, you didn't even need to have a job as a woman at 15. You could just be at home with your husband. And there was a lot of, and then I think a lot of that like sexual development is coming through. And so then there's that curiosity. And in a society where a lot of the what's being shown as, you know, that is not safe for most people. And so then there's just like a lot of that mixed kind of thing. And so it's like, we're also coming into these like hormones around that and that exploration. And it's like, and we have these, like I was saying, like ancestral things that really, I feel like feed us into that. And then the society and capitalist nature of where we're living at right now, and that like meshing just like feels so crazy. It's just like blows my mind. And yeah, I don't really know where I was going with that, but I just feel like that's such a complicated thing with, if we want to think back to like how our backgrounds, not just in our lives, but in our other lives, like how that kind of affects it, and how our parents treated us when there's this time or that time, and how that comes through with our exploration and our like, you know, an ability to like fail and be okay with that, like surrendering to the fact that like you're not doing something okay, or it didn't work out. You know, like when you want to throw a fit after something didn't work out your way, be like, what is this really bringing me back to? Because I feel like those kind of moments bring me back into like, well, when did that happen to me when I was a teenager? And when did it feel really wounding? And what did this person say to me that made me feel even more wounding? Or how did I feel like my peers were receiving me in this light, or feeling the shame of judgment and so forth, you know, and like, how is that affecting me right now in my choices of exploration?
Yep, peeling that onion. Yep. Drasmin.
And you know, continuing into that, this whole pressure, it starts to breed this very unhealthy idea of competition rather than encouraging individuality. And I don't believe in competition. I believe in, you know, devoting, being disciplined, and perfecting who you are, because competition really like wipes out individuality. Even if two beings are like studying the same thing, wanting to go towards the same thing, this whole, you know, and I get where they're coming from, you know, to create independence and, you know, have healthy competition. But the way that it is shared, it creates this mindset that sometimes, not always, but sometimes it creates the mindset of, I need to do whatever it takes to win, even if it means hurting people, even if it means putting my body in danger. You know, what Laureli was saying, you know, the overworking thing, that is something that I am a recovering workaholic, as they say, because I was, you know, came from Indian family. So, you know, it's either get married or have a very successful education by the time you're 25. Like, there's no room to play. I became an adult at the age of 6. So this idea of competition, you know, as we are healing the teenager, I invite you to really look at where you are forced to be in competition with your peers, rather than being encouraged in your individuality and seeing the beautiful individuality of the other, and how that could challenge you, right, in a healthy way to practice more, to study more, to try something differently. Or, you know, join the team in an excited way, rather than I'm here to kick your ass. And again, you know, those hormones definitely play in, especially with boys. You know, they've got so much testosterone. I don't know if you've ever walked into a boys' locker room. I accidentally did once, but they're literally oozing all of these chemicals that need a healthy outlet. And there's a men's group called Sacred Sons that has a fight club where you can, I love this group that they have, because Fight Club is a place where you can come and release that testosterone or that extra energy. And, you know, some women also have that extra energy. I would love to see a fight club for women. I'll be first on that list. I'm just saying a healthy way to get all of that energy out without breeding the toxic competition mindset, and starting to look within self of, oh, where was I pushed to compete with my best friend, and that created, weird dynamics, and now I have wounds around, sisterhood and friendship because of that one incident where I was forced to compete.
Yeah. One thing that arose for me as you're sharing is thinking back about the person or the people. Often for each of us, I think there's someone that got us better than others did when we were those ages. It could have been a teacher. It could have been one of our friends' parents. Sometimes there's some other relative, someone that gets us, or even if they don't acknowledge it, we just feel that they get us better. We like them. We like who they are. And so there's some outlet of someone that gets us. We don't all have that. I know, like, there was a teacher that was so important for me, and I never had a personal conversation with this teacher, but I could tell in hindsight, this person was more like me. I was more like them, and they got me, and I just felt comforted, and they helped chart a bunch of my next steps on my path. Even though I never had a personal connection with them. I was in their class, but it was not personal, but I felt that with them. I think for a lot of us, there's that person, there's someone that's important that helps us get through, whether it's direct or not. Yeah, hard times. And I think of those of us that have kids. So, Coralea, you have kids. Do any of us have
I have
our
two
own?
boys.
Yeah, do any of us have, because I know often one thing I see in my coaching work that I learned and I do see is that when our kids are certain ages, we go through those lessons again that we were at those ages. So you have that
Oh, yeah.
happening. But if the rest of us don't have kids too, that's a common thing that comes up for people. Revisiting all
Yeah,
of these patterns as are.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
My oldest son is turning 13 this year.
And what was your 13-year-old? What were things for you, Coralea, as you were 13? What are the things that might be arriving in this year for you?
Oh my gosh. Well, I think that I remember 13 was the beginning of my teenagers. I actually did a really big move. I unschool my kids. So what grade would that be? Is that like 7th grade?
Yeah, or 8th grade. Yeah, 7th or 8th grade, probably.
So I grew up in San Diego, and I lived with all of my family, and my brother and my sister and my mom. And then when I got into 8th grade, so I think I was like 14, I moved to a different state, and in with my mom and my stepdad, and my life completely drastically changed. And so I feel like 13 was really great. And I remember being really excited about like being a teenager, and I was in cheer. I did debate, and I wanted to be in theater, and there was just like this really excitedness and like my youth and things like that, and that was so awesome. And I I think about my son right now, and he hasn't had that exposure to like that competition of like, this is a table, and I like have friends that have kids in school, but it's like, this table is the table of kids that can read good, and this is the table of kids who like aren't as good at reading. And so I feel like that kind of leads into this space. And then once you get into this middle school age, I feel like you kind of have those belief structures ingrained in you from that time. And so I really liked that I had like opened up myself and was really just like being free with my artistic energy, because I felt like I was really praised for the artistic things that I did, and like that was basically it. And so that was like really good. And then when I moved in with my mom and my stepdad into Las Vegas, and my family kind of broke apart, it was actually the worst part of my life. And it was I had endured a lot of abuse, and then a lot of things came through like unhealthy habits that I had picked up, and like drugs and alcohol. And there was a lot of, like sexual things that were happening because I was trying to escape from my home and stuff like that. So I felt like I kind of went into this other area of growing and running away and really hiding inside and stuff like that. And so it's just really interesting because it's like I look at my son now and I was like, oh my gosh, like that's so little and that's so young. And I'm just really grateful that I'm doing my own inner teenage work for myself, so that way like I can be the best parent for myself and then the best parent for my son, and that there's not any of those kind of things I had to go through for my children. And so I feel like really like nipping that kind of stuff in a way, it was really big for me, because I just really am an advocate of being who you are and feeling like you have safe spaces, and having that support of parents or any adults who allow you to be who you are and do what it is that you want, and explore the things and continue to explore the things that make you feel alive and happy and all that kinds of stuff. So
Yep. And sometimes being the first child in a family is easier. You get to explore more things on your own. And then sometimes it's easier being a second child. You don't have to push through as many new areas. Yeah, all the different layers we are, right? The order we're in.
yeah, I was a baby.
How many more were older than you?
I had an older brother and then an older sister.
And I know I was firstborn in my family, Anissa, DoveLight, Drasmin, and I put in the chat too how anyone, if you want to ask us a question, you can ask us a question on anything. It can be related to healing your inner child, your teenager, and it can be anything. It's a small price to ask a question. We request that you pay first and then let us know that you've paid in the chat and we'll get you in line. But yeah, go ahead, Drasmin or DoveLight, if you want to say anything about where you are in the order in your family or any of the other things that are arising for you.
Well, I'm I'm the second daughter, and since I was like little, since I was like 6, I always have to help raise the little ones because of the situation when so I was never allowed to leave my age. It was always very imposed responsibility. This is ancestral because it was imposed for my grandmother and my mom. Like, you didn't even have time to have compassion or to think. That was a luxury. You just have to do what needs to be done, and that's it. When I came to this country, my sister, who was in her teens, I have to go to everything, school, the school call, I got to go to the report card, parent teacher conference and all that. And so, and right now at this present moment, I'm raising basically my nephew, who is a teenager. He's been living with me for the last 3 years. I don't have kids on my own, but I'm always like involved helping somebody. And what I love about the person that I am now versus before, it's that I can allow my nephew to have a space, like a listening ear, like a safe space to be himself. I generally love the things that I pass through, that I have some knowledge, understanding, that I wish somebody would do that to me. I also do it for my nephew, or for his friends even, or for when I have the chance to talk to somebody. But what I really wanted to share, it's one of my most favorite stories of the whole universe. That it's on the book by James Van Praga, Unfinished Business, which is a book very dear to my heart. I keep reading or listening to it every now and then. And around the first chapter, there is a story about a woman who is very, very feels guilty because his teenager brother died from over drug addiction. And she blamed herself because it was his boyfriend who actually provided the drugs for his younger brother. And in a soul level, James as a medium talked to the kid, and the kid explains to him that even though he takes responsibility for what he did, but he chose to pass through that because he had previous lifetime when he always get in the human pattern of addiction, either for one substance or other. So it was in his destiny in this lifetime to pass through that in order for him to overcome it. And please, I'm not saying that being in drugs or any type of addiction is good at all. I'm not saying that, but for some reason, in a soul level, in a spiritual level, as a way to grow and expand, we are meant to pass through certain situations, even though it's not our fault as a human personality, because we didn't do nothing wrong. We didn't deserve to be sick. We didn't deserve to have an addiction. We didn't deserve to be cheated on. We didn't deserve to have the parents that we thought. In a human level, we don't deserve that. We deserve the best that the universe has to offer. But in a spiritual level, because the spirit has a different frequency than the human, and it feels like it's eternal. If it's eternal, it's always connected to love. So nothing really, in our essence, nothing can really hurt us because we're generally eternal. But the human personality doesn't see that way. We don't want to suffer. We don't want to pass through that too much stuff, too much drama lama. Anyway, but the point of the story is that in a spiritual level, he consciously choose as a soul contract to pass through that addiction in order for him to overcome the behavior so he doesn't keep carrying it for the next lifetime. So that makes you open your perception that, again, sometimes we are so hard in ourselves, we blame ourselves, we live with regret, with guilt for things that we have lived in our teenagers years, when in reality perhaps it was our destiny to pass to those things, to overcome it, to transcend it, to get wisdom from it. And I cannot stress this enough. The divine, the angels, the unconditional love will never ever blame you for nothing that you perceive as a mistake or as a wrongdoing. They just see your light, they see your bright. And and I wish we could learn how to see ourselves as the way that the divine or the angels see us, because then we can generally see the potential that we have with non-judgment and compassion. So when we're talking about teenager, it reminds us of that. Now, again, I just wanted to honor that story because it's one of my favorite stories. And I also have a friend who is in Guatemala, and he told me when he was younger, he feels so much regret because his parents paid for his college, and they were a poor family per se. He was into drugs, he was into alcohol, he got a very challenging childhood as well. And now it's very hard for him to find a job because he doesn't have the same resources. But he's helping in AA, Alcoholic Anonymous. I don't know how to say in English. He's actually helping people and guiding people because he knows what is passed through that. So you can see, perhaps in the human standard, we blame ourselves because there is a point in our life that we feel we don't have this degree, or we're not making too much of this income if I had this opportunity in the past. But in a soul level, in a spiritual level, perhaps you were meant to pass through that so you could understand what it's like to be in that position. So you develop that compassion or that humanity, that oneness, because now you cannot see yourself better or worse. You see themselves as who they are. And seeing yourself as who you are can be tricky because sometimes we think there is a monster, that it's a person who doesn't is worth anything, but that's a lie again. That's a lie. We are what we are. And at the end of the day, we are going to become what we generally believe that we are, and we can change our belief, we can change our thoughts. That's the gift of the divine. So I just wanted to honor that because it keeps coming back to my head. And that means I have to share it. I hope I make sense.
Yeah. So all the information's in the chat. If you want to ask a question of the panel, it can be on any topic and it can be on the theme tonight. Anissa, I didn't say your name earlier, but yeah, there's something else you wanted to share too. Sometimes we go through a really big, difficult thing when we're teenagers, and it has a huge impact, right, for the rest of our life. Yeah, all kinds of things. Yeah, and if anyone has just, go ahead.
No, you go. You were
I was
just
gonna
going to
say,
ask if
if anyone in the audience has just a general question or a general comment about the teenagers too, we can entertain that, and it might be part of our conversation while we're all together. Go ahead, Coralea. Yeah, and Dylan, I know you turned on your video a couple times, so I didn't know if you had something general you wanted to share, not a specific personal question, but.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, like, on what DoveLight was saying, everything that happens is contracted and we have signed up to have this experience in our life and to come through and really learn and expand. And the learning and the movement that I moved through was so incredibly profound. And I hold no shame or resentment or anger towards anybody or anything that had ever happened, because I know that those experiences brought me to these other places that helped me learn about what it is that is my light. And my stories are able to be shared with other people. And I can't even say how many clients that I talk to when I feel the connection of my spirit guides come through and tell me to say a story. And I go, okay, I'll tell this story. And then I share it. And they're like, oh my gosh, like I would not be able to hear what you're saying to me. But because you told me that, I understand that you're real and you understand what I'm going through, and you do, and on this level and that you've moved through it helps me have hope that I can move through it, and everybody can move through any sort of thing that is holding on, especially if it's holding on to certain parts of your body. You can do certain spiritual work. Any of the people on the panel are here. Reach out to us and we can help support you in this movement. And you can get to a space where you're, in this happier spot, able to tackle the things that come up through for you, like through your, inner teenager or inner child that comes up, if they're affecting your life or affecting what it is that you want to be doing with your life or affecting your relationships or anything like that. Like healing this and moving through it is just so important and so epic to your joy and your love and receiving and seeing the perspective for what it really is, and like from a love and compassionate place of like everybody's just really just trying to do their best, honestly. And if they're not, then they could stay at the bottom of the ocean.
One comment we have in the messages, maybe if we go back to our inner teenager and what are the gifts of our inner teenager? What can we bring to our present consciousness from our inner teenager that would be supportive of us now? Yeah, go ahead, Drasmin.
The number one gift that I found in healing my inner teenager was speaking up about my boundaries. That is the biggest gift that I discovered in healing my inner teenager, because as a child, we learn about what we like and what we don't like, but then we start to experience that when we really are met with the hormones, the pheromones, the peer pressure. So cultivating healing with the inner child, or the inner child and then the teenager, will teach you discernment, or rather help you empower your discernment so that you can have healthy boundaries and sustain those healthy boundaries and be okay with when people don't like your no. Like, okay, cool, I love myself enough and I know my healthy boundaries. Show my love for myself. So that is what I would say my biggest takeaway from that is. My words just jumbled up all into themselves. I hope that was clear.
Yeah, that was great. I love hearing the story of how much rage you felt, and it just to me, rage is it. I think it's so many other things besides whatever is here in the moment, right? It's unexpressed anger. It's where people didn't honor your boundaries typically, and so it's just coming through. And I love that it breaks through, right? That's what we got to do to find the place of how we honor it in ourselves and how others insist that others honor it as well. Yeah, and we don't have as much easy control over that when we're kids and teenagers, and finding our way to insist on that. Yeah. So do you how would are there ever times where you, for example, you want to feel, I'm just making this up, you want to feel more passionate about something than you do? Do you ever tap back into any kind of old feelings or any old anything, like consciously, to bring it forth?
I feel that question needs a reframing. I'm not quite understanding the question.
I guess so. So a lot of the time we talk about like inner child healing or inner like teenager healing, where it shows up subconsciously, where we don't intend for it to happen, and it's breaking through and telling us we have a lesson. I guess I was just wondering, are there times that, and this is a general thing, but we consciously reach back to our teenager because our teenager really had these great gifts and these pearls of wisdom, and we go back to those feelings as a way of helping us be more present with something in the future. And in particular, you were sharing that your teenager helped you be clear about boundaries. So you may be so much more clear about boundaries now, you never need to go back to remember what it was like and to bring those feelings forward.
I think I understand the question, and I guess it comes up for me when I'm faced with decisions. Even decisions like, do I want green tea or black tea today? And sometimes, especially if I have a guest, then I start feeling into like the peer pressure energy of like, well, what do they want? Hold on, I'm hosting tea. What kind of tea do I want? Or can I have a conversation if I'm, feeling more open? So it starts simple, so to speak. And if we have time, I would love to guide us all into a practice to tap into the empowered yes and the no. But that's when it comes up for me, when I'm faced with decisions, sometimes, not always, because I've definitely, been practicing a lot of self-awareness over 10 years. But I definitely notice that teenager energy come up when I have to make decisions, that defiance energy of like, I can do what I want because it's my house and it's my tea party, kind of thing. So decisions, I would say, is when that comes up.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, so I guess if I generalize the question or generalize the, there's what is our specific lesson? Like, what did we learn from our teenager? And they may be themes, right, that other people did too. And then what is a practice for us to go back? And I mean, just even, well, I'd say like, even just presencing back to that time and like floating through those years and realizing like what was happening for us in those years. And what do we really, in looking backwards, what did we really appreciate about how we showed up, how we attempted to show up? Given what was here. Yeah. So how can we love more of who we were as we made it through that journey? But yeah, any specific examples people have their own experience, or then, tools that people can use? Go ahead, Coralea.
I just don't know how to raise my sticker hand. So
Okay.
that's why I was like, I really feel like from my inner child, like healing and what I gathered from that, besides like the boundaries, which is such a great one, is not having to defend myself, like not having to explain myself if I don't have to, like allowing people to speak and have their perspective and, say how they're feeling, and being like able to listen and to really allow the receiving and to hearing what that person is going through or what it is that they're wanting me to witness them in, instead of having to defend what I believe around that, or, having to like interject in a way, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does. Yeah, I really love that you brought that up, because that definitely, that's another place where the teenager comes up, is when we're challenged with our opinions, with our, with our core ass. And that can bring up that energy of like, wait a minute, am I being challenged, or is there just simply a difference of opinion? And how am I responding to that? That's a really great highlight. Thank you, Coralea.
I know, Anissa, at the moment, I'm thinking about the images that come up for you and your image readings. And somehow that they come up as images, I connect more towards childhood, even the teen years. And like drawing and learning to draw. And like somehow I connect your images with drawing, even though you don't specifically draw, although you may actually draw them as a way of grounding what they are. But looking backwards, do you see that some of your gift was actually showing up then and you didn't recognize it as that at the time?
My teenage was so filled with so much health stuff that I really was very disconnected to anything spiritual. So I really can't say that there was any connection, even looking back now, I was artistic and I sought out other spiritual things, but in myself, it was pretty dark and pretty blank. The only thing that I thought I'd share as a lesson was being tenacious or having tenacity, because we've made it to here. And I think that was a big thing that I can take away from my teenage self, was just the tenacity to get through things, especially in regards to my health and reliving, having my mother have to take care of her child in a way she took care of her spouse. My dad died from cancer and I didn't have cancer, but I definitely was very dependent upon her for mobility because I was in a wheelchair and in hospitals and having surgeries. And so she had to see someone be in a hospital bed again, and she had to see somebody, need help getting to take a shower again. And so I know that I brought up a lot of stuff for her. So for her to have tenacity and then for me to have the same tenacity to get through it was a big thing. Sorry, I can't say it very eloquently.
No, it's all great. I have to say, and it is many years. Yeah, it's a 7-year stretch where for so much of it, we don't get to make all of our own decisions about things, or we're dependent on others for things. And Drasmin has something to share. Go ahead. And then someone else does have a question. So this is great. Yeah, we're on for another hour, so we definitely have time for a question. So go ahead, Drasmin, and I will get it sorted with the other person in the chat about that.
Yeah, so jumping into what Anissa was just saying about tenacity, thank you so much. That actually triggered another place that really highlights there's a deep teenager wound is when there is not discipline, when there is a resistance to discipline, to structure, to, having good habits, good routines. And I have always been extremely disciplined because I was raised in that Indian culture. By the age of 6, I was starting to read anatomy books. And it wasn't until about like 5 years ago in a session where it just hit me like, oh my gosh, the discipline wound stems in the teenager, especially, here in the West. I have this blessing of having experienced both Eastern education and Western education, but in the West, not to diminish the Western education system, but it's very, for lack of a better word, lazy. It doesn't encourage discipline. It doesn't encourage critical thinking. It doesn't encourage, like that you said, that tenacity, unless you have, some kind of medical stuff going on, or you're neurodivergent, or you have some kind of alterability. So that's another place to, notice, like, where do you resist routine and structure, even though like you need to show up at the gym, or you need to drink that water, or you need to do your meditation every day, even if it's for 60 seconds. That showing up for yourself will really help that teenage wound, is choosing to be disciplined and seeing it as an investment in your wellness. Do you want to invest in pills, or do you want to invest in just, showing up and going through the storm, because then you're going to be stronger without addictions and attachments?
Yeah, and Monica just mentioned in the chat too, attachment styles. Yeah, the different forms of attachment and how they're showing up, how they're forming in us, expressing in us, and then with our parents and all that. Right, so secure attachment, which most of us did not experience, anxious preoccupied, avoidant dismissive, and fearful avoidant. Trying to remember, there's which is the mixed up, which is the one that's a mixture of all the things, disorganized, right? So anxious, wanting to connect, avoidant, ignoring, I guess maybe, and avoidant, being, I don't know them as well, but I think of, so anxious and focused on the relationship, and avoidant and getting space, and then disorganized is a mixture of all of them. My defense styles that I read in people are related to the attachments. So what we're experiencing and the parents around us and our other siblings and our friends and what's forming in us, and yes, healing all those things. Well, I know we have 2 people that are going to have questions, so when one of them is ready, let us know, and we'll bring him up here. Okay, one is ready. Do you want to come up on the spotlight, turn on your video? All right, here we go. We've got Vi coming in with a question. All right, Vi.
Hey,
what-
I'm noticing something coming up that makes me wonder with this topic. I'm having an issue with a couple of people now, so like one and then another, where I'm just not really able to let it go. So I like have a judgment, and I'm like really, really rigid about it. Like I'm just like, I could just probably hold on to it for the rest of my life and never, figure it out how to be friends with them again. And I would really like to be able to shift that. And, it's pretty close to home. So it's hard to, like I want to break through this pattern and be more accepting. Like that would be the adult thing to do. Like understand that people have differences and that it doesn't have to be so black and white.
Yeah,
Because that feels like how I was as a teenager, like kind of more extreme. And then that's how my family was. So, I came by it pretty honestly, so to speak. But
Yeah,
I
so
really
that's-
want to break through this pattern.
Yes, that's great. Like having awareness that it's old stuff that's here and not knowing how to shift it.
Mhm.
Yeah, how to get through it. And I didn't mention too that for everyone, this is a great opportunity to practice your intuition of whatever might come through you as I ask the question. So you might want to write and scribble and draw whatever shows up. It's a great opportunity to get confirmation from anything we share. If you do get something that comes through, please hold it until we're done answering Vi's question. And then if you want, you can private chat Vi and find out if Vi would like to know what came through you. Please honor whatever Vi shares, whatever Vi answers, responds with. They may want it, they may not. And then also, if we start wandering by and everyone that asks a question in topics you don't want us sharing about or too deep here, let us know, interrupt us, give us guidance so we honor you in our response. All right, Vi. So DoveLight is ready with some insight. Go ahead, DoveLight.
Thank you so much for sharing your question. I think that it's very important to acknowledge that the inner child work, the teenager child work, your past life, ancestral healing. The key here is awareness, and you're open to listen to that awareness. In a soul level, I keep listening that you feel if it resonates, that you would like to still get attached because that's a way to continue with the relationship so you don't feel abandoned. Like, no, if out of your control, if it doesn't end good, especially if you really like somebody or love somebody, you don't want to end in those terms, but it is those people who can affect us the most, who can help us to move forward, actually. So there is a gift in here. Definitely, I'm picking up that you're a high priestess. You're very spiritual, so very empath. So in a soul level, you understand that the people who is coming with this pattern, it is because there is something within you that needs to be clear. So it's a gift. I feel a lot of regret, or maybe I should have done this better. Maybe if I speak this way, or perhaps if I didn't do that much. But in reality, in any type of relationship, friendship, romantic, family, it is one side and the other. You can only do that much. You cannot take responsibility for how are they choosing to see you or to perceive you or to act against you. So a little bit to take that away, that energetic back that you might be carrying, because that's not you, that's them. What I'm picking up is definitely a pattern of betrayal and a pain in the heart, but moving it away from this energy will allow you to bring more value to yourself and help you move to your soul group. I will definitely trace back to reparent. Where in my life did I feel abandoned, or where in my life did I feel like this is the same person, the same situation with different faces? It is all about allowing your soul time to listen. Your subconscious will tell you what you are meant to see at this moment. But it's tricky because it's in the subconscious. You have to allow yourself to be in a safe place enough so you listen to yourself, and you can be guided by any here. But that's what I'm picking up. The way to change this frequency of this pattern is, again, allowing yourself the safest space to go back and ask yourself, when did this pattern came? And then when was the last time that I felt this way, and going back until it feels safe enough for it to be shown. But remember, you are not responsible for the way that they treat you or the way that they choose to perceive you. Sometimes people are meant to just live our life to close cycles. That's the way it is, because you both learn from each other and it's time to move on. It's nothing really to be with you or not to you. And the last thing they're telling me before they put me the stone, sometimes it's a blessing that people live your life. It's nothing about you. Sometimes it's protection. Sometimes they're just meant to go. And that's a gift from the divine. And I'm going to share, if you have time, I'm going to share my prayer that I really love to say. It's divine goddess, divine Buddha, whatever you believe, divine everything. Thank you for my life. Thank you. And everything you can say your gratitude. Please remove anything or anyone who is not meant to be in my life, who is not meant to be in my path, and give me the wisdom to know that it's happening for my highest good, while you bring the right resources towards me, the blessed people, the divine people who are meant to be. If you practice saying a mantra or a praying, when you are trusting that the divine will remove the people, the energies, the circumstances away from you, they will actually do it. So the next time a person leaves your life, a situation doesn't come, a job doesn't hire you, anything, you can trust because you already asked for it. That is for your highest good. So I just wanted to honor that, because sometimes it's very hard to detach, or we don't know why they live in us, and that triggers like an abandonment issue within us. I just wanted to honor my time. I don't know if I still have time or not, but so I'll pass it to the next person.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, DoveLight. All right, looks like Drasmin is next.
Thank you, DoveLight, for that. And thank you, Vi, for, showing up, letting yourself be seen both in face and with your questions. So, the first thing is you're already at that stage one of acknowledging where you are and acknowledging what's challenging you. So give yourself a moment to acknowledge that you're even at that point, right? And the second thing that's coming through is you cannot rush your journey. You cannot rush the process. Something that I found really invaluable in my growth is, well, I already know what I need to do. So why am I not freaking doing it already, right? And that's where that angst comes in. That's where that pressure comes in of needing to get it together so you can move on. So the invitation for you is, can you lovingly hold space for both the desire to let this go, as well as the knowing of the situation and where you're at? Can you hold love for both of these seemingly paradoxical, opposing aspects of yourself that are very real in the current now? Okay. Somebody made a comment here talking about the attachment style. So do you know what your attachment style is? Do you know about that? And have you explored that within yourself?
I forget what all the terms are exactly, but I've heard about it before. And
yeah,
I'm certainly have a little bit of a, an anxious, like I don't want to be abandoned kind of a thing, which I know is old material.
Yeah. And there's that word right there. Yeah, I know it's old, yet these attachment styles get really rooted within you, within us, not just you as a being, but within all of us. Our attachment styles get rooted during the core developmental years. So they really become a part of the process, right? So yes, it might be old, yet it is a very real aspect that you may be working through for the rest of your life. So can you acknowledge and accept that in this current now, that is something that you're going to be working through until you die? Not to say that that's going to be what happens, right? But just accepting that that's where you are in the now, so that you can begin to effectively communicate and let go of that guilt and shame of, I'm an adult, I should know better, I should securely attach better, when you literally have that hardwired into your brain, unless you go through like intensive EMDR therapy and hypnosis and all of these things, So those attachment styles and really starting to uncover that and looking at, whether you're just anxious, like you mentioned, you're anxious, that there's this vicious cycle that happens that we attract the opposite attachment style that feeds that, and it creates this loop, right? So that's the second bit that I would encourage you, is to just accept that that is your attachment style, and a loving partner, a loving friend, a loving family member will work with you through that. And if they are not willing to, that is not love. Love is accepting someone where they are and being willing to support the growth, right? Not empowering, not continuing to enable the codependency and the attachment, which it doesn't sound like that's where you're at. You're not wanting to enable that. You're wanting to grow from that, but you're wanting support with that, right? So being willing to accept that that's where you're at with whatever those are, and being able to communicate that, perhaps mirror exercises, perhaps with a friend, starting to practice that. I always like to say, set a time every week, to just really dive into that, because then that's building trust within yourself. Like you're building trust with that inner child, with that inner teenager of like, hey, during this time at this, every week, we're like, having a therapy session. You're having a gym session, you're consistently building that and working through that with a loving, ally, whether it's someone you pay. And this is why therapy can be great, because you're literally paying somebody who's, non-attached, but just accepting that you may be on this journey for a while and you can't rush it, right? It's okay to not be ready. You can't rush the apple to be ready before its time. Right? It's going to be raw. It's going to be painful. You pluck it from the tree. It's still going to be green, right? Just because you pluck the fruit from the tree doesn't mean that it's ready to be eaten. And sometimes in our healing journey, the fruit hasn't ripened enough. So perhaps you're just in a slow ripening process of this journey that you're on, and being okay with that and be really supportive with you. For you, right? And going back to what Anissa was saying, rejection, I say, is redirection. As you're going through the ripening process, if things fall away, that's great, because you're just being redirected more into your aligned sacred heart. And then the third thing I'll say is this other that you are fixated on, okay? And I'm putting that in quotations to be gentle. What positive qualities of them are you attached to, or that you want in your life, but because the wound has greater space within you, that's what you're focusing on. You're focusing on the wound, when in reality there are positive qualities about this person that you would really miss if they weren't around. They're really sweet, or they show up, or you love going dancing with them. Looking at those positive qualities of the other will help you start detaching from the emotional attachment, because you realize they are just qualities of a being that you can then focus on attracting in someone that can really support you and love you exactly where you are in this current now. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's all I have, and I'm just gonna pause here so someone else can share. And just there's this one song I think it's by Trevor Hall, and the song goes, "You can't rush your healing." And I listened to that song on a loop for like 3.5 years. You can't rush your healing. The fruit is not ripe, and that's okay. It's okay for me to be holding space for this angry, resentful, whatever, aspect of me, but it needs love. And I can hold love for both the good and the uncomfortable. And that's part of the harmonizing of the polarity.
Yeah. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Drasmin. All right. I know I can go, but I don't know if Anissa or Coralie wants to go first. Okay. Yeah, and I know some of the backstory a little bit more. So part of what I imagine is so frustrating for you in this is that you feel so helpless. There's nothing that you can do. So I think about what you can and can't control, and our big lessons about that. and what we focus our attention on. And for me, as I deepen in this, to me, there's grief underneath and the acceptance that you can't, you haven't sorted out any way you can do anything about this, about the things that are different. Oh gosh, we're getting hail. We just had a big thunder and we're getting hail. What interesting timing. So the universe experiencing, I'll say, rage with you, or anger with you. So part of what I was thinking about too here is I'm imagining that in these people having different perspectives and opinions than you about these things, that it feels like a rejection of you too, that it's not just a rejection of like a thing, a perspective, like a difference, that it feels very much like they're pushing you away. So it's not just an opinion that you have, it's different, or a disagreement on something. It feels like it's about you. Certainly that the way it's coming out, it feels that way for you, or you're taking it in that way. Yeah.
It kind of feels like I'm pushing them away because I'm not willing to meet in the middle, so that's the inner teenager that's angsty and like not willing. That's what it feels like, even though I resonated so much with what that was just being talked about the previous
Well, Jasmine was speaking earlier, or the thing I was saying. Yeah. It's okay.
I can't read the names.
Jasmine.
Jasmine.
Sorry.
Yeah, what Jasmine was sharing. Yeah, like the fruit not being ripe. Yeah, and I would wonder about going back to where did this similar pattern happen for you as a child? So it could be who didn't see you, who rejected you, or where again did something happened and you pushed away from someone else? Where are those places where it happened? So you can bring to conscious awareness where it felt like the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right? It might have been a parent or someone that was in more of a role of authority, like a teacher or some other leader, or something came up with a friend and you pushed, or they pushed. Or who'd you learn this from too? Who used to do this to other people? Like, how is it modeled?
Yeah, like I say, my family was pretty kind of, I would say, judgmental.
Like they had strong opinions and they pushed lots of other people away.
Yeah.
Right. So that, and more of the attachment styles that we're started to talk about a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what are it's totally snowing. It's like snowing, hailing, sleeting right now, even though it's hot outside. It's crazy. Washington. All right. Okay. Well, if I do this, so like ice and rain. So I think about crying. So you're crying. It's great that you're crying.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think of like cold and ice and like so freezing out. Yeah, Jasmine's got something. Go ahead.
Vi, just being so tender with you right now. First of all, those tears are amazing. It means that the emotion is moving, and that's a sign of progress. Okay. So really just like, thank you, tears. Thank you for cleansing me, let them out of their little eye socket jails. But what I wanted to share with you, a book, if you're a reader or an audiophile, a book that really helped me is called Toxic Parents: Overcoming Their Hurtful Legacy. Changed my life. I put the link to that book in the chat. And perhaps that can help you just reclaim your own life and recognize that they're just coming from their wounded place. And we download all of these traumas. And what I'm intuitively getting for you is you are where the cycle ends. And that is a big place to be. You are where the gaslighting, the belittling, the dismissal, that's where it ends. It stops with you, right? So it's like everything's hitting you full force and you're like, no. So perhaps there is a little bit of defiance of the inner teenager there, but perhaps you are literally ending a legacy of shame, of not allowing for empowerment and sovereignty. And so I just felt guided to share that book with you, if it calls you, to just tune into and see if there might be some nuggets of wisdom in there for you.
I'm saying I'm usually a fan of learning to let go, the thing that we can do nothing about. And maybe in this case, part of why you haven't let go is because there are parts of you inside that don't want you to just reject others the way your family did, the way that you learned to. And you're staying so impacted by this and can't let it go because you're wanting to end that pattern. And you're wanting to find a way through this differently. Right? Because the things that you have control over, right, are the things inside you. Right? The things coming through you. So what would it mean about you if you found a middle way? If you didn't stay aligned with your opinion? Like, what would that mean? What would that mean about you? What would be if you were someone that did that? That's the thing to explore.
Yeah, it would be something that is very different than my identity growing up, and yeah.
Yeah, so who are people that do that? What are your stories, judgments about them, positive or negative? And who are people that do that you respect? And who are who do you not respect? Yeah. Looks like Coralie's got something to share.
I figured out how to raise my hand. Hi, bye. Thank you so much for your bravery and stepping out and opening up to us about this. I just pulled a couple cards for you, and some of what I got was, talked about, but I felt like there's like a patriarchal figure specifically who had really brought a lot of tonal like belief structures and pressure to adhere to these structures, and that like you and these friends who you're kind of like wanting to push away, I feel like there's this enormous amount of like, I don't need to have people in my life that are not going to be aligned with what it is that really I'm like moving towards and like where I've grown into, and that like perhaps like tell me if this is like resonating with you or not, but I was just feeling like there's such a tight small group of people that when you were in your teenage space, like that you felt like you really could trust and that were your friends. And so like now as an adult, like having the friends and the people that you're with, you really treasure and like honor them and the time that you put into them, and like wanting to put that time back and forth into it. And I feel like is that resonating with you?
Sorry, were you referring to friends I had when I was a teenager?
Yeah, I was feeling like that there was like only like a couple of people who you felt like you really could trust and like be open, and like so you really treasured that experience.
Mm-hmm. I had very few friends, but I did have a few, and then it went pretty sour actually. So
when it went sour, that was very surprising for you because you felt like you could trust them, but then you couldn't, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so like, is there something within this experience where you're like wanting to kind of move into this other space of like walking away because you're like, this seems like it could be going in this sour direction? Like you have these belief structures that you're feeling really strong about, and they're not really resonating with that. And so I'm feeling like, the like that you're like you're wanting to move away from it. And I feel like there's nothing wrong with wanting to move away with it, but really checking in with, is it bringing up something like how you had like your tight friends and then it went sour? Is it bringing up these kind of reminders for you? Or is it because you're growing in your strength and what it is that you stand for and believe in, and that they're not resonating with it in a way that you're like, this is a boundary for me of like,
Yeah. There's
Right.
that going on, but then there's also this higher vibration of that we share so much of, like, shared, that we both are so committed to a certain thing that we'd like to share it. And that's what I'm I'm holding both right now. So it's like this tug of war because both are true.
yeah, I feel like seating in the love and compassion and holding, like, even when you're having confrontation and when you're having struggle with other people or other structures or other systems, like taking a love and compassion and really trying to see why it is that they're doing or saying what it is that they're doing from their perspective, and shedding that love and compassion around it for like what is going on, and releasing the anger, shame, and judgment that you have on your side, and being like, I'm okay to hold on to my values and what I believe in and how I'm feeling.
Mhm.
And also at the same time, send you love and compassion and kind of allow you to have your perspective on the thing. And then also, kind of go through and figure out like what types of things you are willing to move forward with talking or going and doing, or topics that you want to discuss, or like invitations, like I would maybe invite this friend to this thing but not this thing because I'm feeling like this is a physical boundary within this that might be like more safe and things like that. But like really checking in with like what the deep pocket of like the rooting is of like, why do you feel like the deep kind of like pull,
Mhm.
right? And have you been able to kind of sit in this space of like I don't know, like have you ever sent anybody that you really dislike or have a disagreement, like love and compassion, and really try to see why it is that they even actually felt this way and what their perspective is of their past that like made them believe that this is okay?
Yeah, I mean, it makes total sense. I can put myself in their shoes, and it makes total sense that they think what they think, and then it makes total sense that I think what I think. And yeah, I can't quite, get off my bandwagon.
Well, I wouldn't
Because
say
they're
that you
willing
were
to.
a
They're
bad
willing
wagon.
to get off of their bandwagon. And they might not see it as such, but yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just work on my side that I have to do.
Well, you have an opportunity to do, not have to.
Yeah. And know that like
Or
you can
not.
be
I may
doing your
not.
work.
I may not. I don't
Well,
feel
you
like I
could be-
want to.
You want to do that work.
I mean, I want the result. I want to be their friend again. But I'm just like, I'm very stubborn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like, being able to really like have that space for yourself and like holding that space for, and maybe even like I'm really into like if you're just diving into your intuition, like automatic writing, like taking and finding any meditation that you like the tone of the person's voice or like the hertz in the background, and really taking yourself to a space where you're in a relaxed state, and then pausing the video and then asking a question and then writing the first thing that comes to your mind. I'm a really big fan of that because you could tap into something that you might not even know if you just trust what it is that you're writing without judgment or like trying to fix what it is that your brain is trying to like put out on paper. If that's something that you would like to like receive, if you're wanting to explore and deepen into like the why or like what's connected to it and stuff.
Yeah. That's a
thanks,
good
Coralea.
suggestion.
Yeah,
To
so
keep
Drasmin
that,
has,
yeah.
Drasmin has a little bit more to share, and then Anissa sees Anissa has something. Go ahead, Drasmin.
Okay, so jumping into where she was just talking about writing, there is a practice that I feel would be really beneficial for you, and I call it the poison diary. And basically you have 2 journals, and I really encourage writing over like speaking or typing, because literally, like, I'm not going to go into the biology of neuroscience and how that works, but it's so much better for you in the long term. So you get one diary where it's literally called your poison dump, where you just dump out all the thoughts, all the feelings, whatever's coming up, without filter, without edit, without going back to reread it. That's like the abyss, so to speak. You know, you're just dumping everything out. When you fill it, you burn it, you bury it, and you repeat. You know, I did this practice for almost 7 years. Okay, I'm just saying that's how long it took me to get all of that poison out of me. And then you have another diary, which is your empowerment journal, or, you know, you can give it a cute name, Sally. And this is where you develop consistency. Every day, 1 to 3 sentences, where this is the only time you can look at the poison diary. You look at something and say, you know, oh, I'll never have a best friend like this person, for example. And then you write, I am playful, for example, because maybe this friend, you know, brings out this playful side of you, and so you're concerned about never having, you know, this friend and never having that playful side activated within you. This is just an example, right? But you write something empowering about yourself or what you want in that empowerment diary, and either you repeat it 3 times or you write 3 different sentences. If looking at the poison diary is too triggering, don't look at it. Just think of something about yourself, or going back to what I was sharing earlier, the quality of this other that you really love, and see, like, how do I cultivate that with it's not like in there. I fully resonate with the stubborn energy. I have some strong earth placements. Virgo's in my 12th house, you know, it's so I get it. I get being stuck, but sometimes getting that out. And then I'll casually touch on the epigenetics. And DNA that's from your ancestor, from some kind of grandparent, you know, or, you know, somebody you've never even heard of, and just letting that out without attaching yourself to why is this coming out, or how is this affecting me, or what does it mean for me, can, again, with that poison diary, just start clearing you on a deep, deep level. Okay, that's all I'll share with that.
Great, thanks. And then, yeah, Anissa, is there something you want to share with Vi?
Well, I have things, but I just wanted to check with Vi, like, you've received a lot. Do you want to receive anything more, or are you feeling kind of full?
I would love to hear what you have to share.
Okay. So again, I get series of images. So one of the images was a puffer fish, and that's you right now, that you're really kind of puffing yourself up into protection mode. You're pushing other people away in this protection mode. You're inflating yourself, and you're kind of being consumed and inflated with the stress that's going on with this relationship that you're battling, that you have this judgment with. The next imagery that I got was of a pulse rate machine. So I'm feeling that this is actually causing your heart to be irregular, not just in a literal sense, physically, but also emotionally, that it is really drawing in a lot of your energy and taking a lot of your energy out. It's very difficult on you. It is tugging at your heartstrings. It is making your pulse irregular. And then the next imagery I got was of a game from the 80s, and I don't remember what it's called, but it was two action figures that have control, that two people control, and you like press this button and they fight, like plastic.
Oh, I know the game. I've played that before. I know it. I don't know what it's called, but yeah.
So for that, I feel like there's some manipulation and control going on with this tension, that you're not the one tapping, that there's something else going on. There's someone else who's also manipulating or controlling that's making this tension, this disagreement, this judgment more difficult than it needs to be. So I caution you, or I suggest, who else are you listening to besides listening to yourself? Another imagery was just geometric patterns. So I feel that you're a fairly logical person. Not only are you spiritual and sensitive, but you have some logic and strategy as well. And so looking at what repeated patterns might be going on, and also what is a different angle that you could be looking at. We have the ability to get so focused in on a certain thing. So I encourage you to look at the other angles. And then for the last two imagery, just reminding that you have free will. One of them was a bookend. And so letting this come in, that maybe this is a possible ending. Maybe this is a possible part where for this relationship, your stories have been written together, the books have been completed, and it is a time to put the other bookend on. Because the last imagery that I got was of a melting snowman. So again, that this possibly might be the end of the season, that this might be the melting, the time for it to be over. But again, it's your choice on what energy you put towards this relationship and whatnot. But those were the imageries that came across for me.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely part of the relationship will be absolutely ended and will never be the same. But I still hope to have a friendship in future, but we'll see. Thank you. That was.
Sorry, my internet's kind of wacky and frozen. Can I say one more thing about the snowman?
Yeah.
Just the melting snowman could also be the melting of the freeze.
I mean, that's just crazy that it's snowing where you are, Laureli.
Yeah.
In the summer.
Yeah. Well, it's 66 degrees here and we've got the hail and the sleet. My brother had 88 degrees and he had ½ inch and then an inch chunk of hail falling in Austin, Texas, like a week or so ago. So yeah. We get a mixture, right? So you got heat and you got freeze all at the same time. That's what's here in your issue too.
Yeah.
It is so freaking hot here today. And for some reason, I decided to wear thermal pants today.
Oh gosh.
So I'm melting, you're freezing, and Vi's going through her hot and cold journey. So we're all experiencing this with you, and it's great.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Vi, for your question.
Thank you.
Letting us be with you about this. Yeah. All right, we've got. Yeah. All right, so I know A has a question. And I think it was A. Were you going to put it in the chat? I don't think I have it yet. Yeah, so A is anonymous. A for anonymous. And let's see where the question will appear. I just don't think I have it. Oh, here we go. Okay. I'm having a kind of challenging time with my boss, and I think it's probably tapping into old hurts from my childhood. I would love any insight on what's going on with my relationship with my boss and how to help that be more effective, as well as if there's anything that comes up around how to heal the things it's pulling with my mom, my childhood. And I can talk with everyone via chat, but won't be on voice or video. Yeah. Yeah, so that's from A. Yeah, that's right. And this is recorded. So anyone that asks a question, wants to go back over this, or anyone that wants to just go back and listen to some of this again, and I'll put the link in the chat. where you can get that. I gotta go get into the high-speed internet and upload it.
So the
All right, so
first
it looks-
question I have is the boss a male?
Female.
Female. Interesting.
And that's why I think A asked about relationship with mom. So some idea that there's something there that's relevant.
Thing that came through when I was reading that question is, what is your relationship with the figure of authority? Whether that is, you know, in whatever in whatever form. The first thing that came to me was like, there's some kind of deep core father wound, but then when you clarified that it's a female, then the second thing that fatherhood, around authority. So that's what immediately came through as the diving point of just starting to unravel and unpack what is that relationship. And figure in your life, and also your biggest healing around this is going to happen during dreaming. So starting to keep a dreaming journal will really be supportive for you. And even if you wake up and you don't remember anything, writing down nothing will start to strengthen the bridge of awareness and memory. Thing. And then the answers come. So those are the two insights that I immediately got for you. A.
It's great. If you can hear me through the chat, I wanted to mention too that A said that the boss is a great mixture of both parents, and that that A doesn't like trust authority very much, that dad wasn't a great example of healthy authority, so it pulls up some of that. So just want to make sure we all have that in the mix. Great, it looks like DoveLight is ready. Go ahead, DoveLight.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out the chat because this will be my first time. Oh my goodness. If it doesn't resonate, something doesn't resonate, please just disregard. My question will be if you have any troubles or problems, if you feel guilt expressing your emotions or even feeling anger, you feel uncomfortable with feeling angry or speaking up because you, in a way, like I feel this guilt of owning your voice, of standing up for yourself. Maybe this is related where you're speaking out to your mom, and this is kind of like the energy that is playing behind with this boss. They're telling me to remind you that you are a child, a gift from the divine. You were your child from the divine. Sometimes we think that nobody loves us or our parents don't love us, but remember, ultimately the universe wants you to be here. The universe who created the mountains, the universe that's making the sun move and the galaxies and the trees and everything going on, wants you to be here. So you are fine. You are a child from planet Earth. You are meant to be here because it is your inner belief that are right for you. It's going to determine your situations. You're gonna bring frequencies that might repeat bring the opportunity to one day to explode, and you don't want to explode. One day you just don't want to, in an unhealthy way. So I will definitely recommend you to, hold on. I will definitely recommend you, if you feel called, to allow a safe space to express yourself, definitely, because what I'm picking up from here is that you're holding back from your boss, and one day you're going to explode. There is a high possibility that it might be a fight or something, but it's going to bring you happiness in a good way, because what the gift that you're getting from the situation, if you choose to do so, it's to speak up for yourself, to stand up for yourself, but it has to be done in a healthy way. Otherwise it's going to filter. So my recommendation will be, if I will clear cuts with my mom, not that doesn't mean that you are going to completely not see your mom per se, but to clear the energy cords that are still holding you, that your mom perhaps emotionally still holding on you, or you allowed because you were a good child and you didn't know any better. So the pattern doesn't repeat itself with this boss or any new boss. You will find great relief and great happiness I'm picking up if you allow yourself to express yourself without feeling guilty to do so. And you have to have faith in yourself. You have to, if you choose to do so, to trust yourself, that you have good judgment and you're meant to be who you are meant to be, and express the things that you are meant to express in the way that it comes for you, without no fear or no resentment. That's the first thing that I'm picking up. I hope I'm not speaking too much. I'm not overwhelming you, because I cannot see in the chat. All right, thank you.
Thanks so much. Yeah, that seems right on to me. Let's see. I can't see everyone, and I don't know if anyone can hear me. I don't know if Coralea or Anissa is ready to go. Yeah, and A shared that's accurate, with feeling like they can't, like she can't express fully. She holds back, thinking she's uncomfortable with her talking. Yeah, so that the boss is uncomfortable. Yep. I would, again, I don't know if anyone can hear me. I would think that that A has had trouble expressing themselves in general. That I think, yeah, this is totally bringing up all the things that are, okay, great, you can hear me. That, yeah, A, this is bringing up all the things that like are just general things for you. You being able to speak your truth with lots of people in your life. Like, how does this happen with friends? Like, who are the safest people for you where you really can speak your truth, and where you can say no? Like, how often do you say no to people? No, you don't want to do something, or that doesn't work for me. You know, and how often can you say yes and ask for what you want? I feel like this is, it's bringing something that's a bigger lesson here for you to learn. And I encourage you to choose some safer places where you can practice. You know, where I think you've been exploring whether you want to go a different pathway with work too, if I recall. So I wonder if some of that is getting prompted by the issues too with this person. It could also be that if you have different perspectives about your work, this is the thing that part of what prompted me that I wanted to work for myself, when I started having different perspectives than my teacher, and I didn't have space to share that with my teacher. It's like, oh, I need to create my own space where I can share my voice and my perspective. So it can be layers of you wanting to come out and emerge, and what is the best pathway or the solution for that. So yeah, I'd experiment with getting some practice. Even with no one else there, just practice saying the things that you would love to say to your boss, and let yourself go full out. Let yourself say it bigger and more outrageously than you really feel. I would encourage you to do that, so you give yourself permission to really let it all out, so you're not stifling it and holding it back in. So no one else has to hear this. It's sort of similar in some ways to what Drasmin was saying about writing. I don't remember what it's called, but like a poison journal kind of thing. Let the really black stuff out, so you can get it to move through you, so you're not stuck holding it in, and see what emerges from those waves. What are the waves that come after that? Anyway, so yeah, so maybe a little jumbled, but that's some of the stuff. So it looks like Coralea is ready. Go ahead, Coralea, and then Coralea also, I think you can't usually see me, so you can't tell when you're out of time. So I'll just jump in and give you a verbal clue when you need to finish up a bit. So go ahead.
I can see you, but usually I'm like looking around. So sorry if I've been going over with long-winded things
It's
to
okay,
say.
go ahead. Yeah, just go ahead and share. Don't worry about it.
So a couple things came through to me, which is to really stay focused and be mindful about your thoughts and what it is that you're intending when you're going into that atmosphere. Like, what are you saying about what's going to happen? What are your expectations around it? And what are you kind of like projecting out into this experience because of the wounding that you do have with your mom and the authority that you feel is important, and have this like equal exchange of conversation, but that isn't something that you are or feel like capable of doing like in the workplace. And so you have a community that you do feel safe being completely and totally yourself with, I'm picking up on. And if that's true, like you have certain friends or like a certain people or group or something, people that feel safe to you in community, could be like friends or family or something like that, and really express who you are and what it is that you're doing in the way that you're wanting to express it, and let those people know that this is kind of like a role play type of situation that you're gonna want to be reenacting and like stating, and then really figuring out like, okay, well, when you're in that situation, like what does come up and what do you want to say, and what kind of exchanges are you feeling are happening with that kind of play with a safe person. This could, I mean, this doesn't really work with a journal. It works more with like a trusted person that you feel like you can do this with. And just like really seeing what comes up and how you react to the person, and how the person, you know, because they probably heard you talk more than once about this boss, like they can kind of reenact what they're thinking that person would say, and just really like play that out, and then think, well, what through that interaction, like deepen into what you're finding about yourself, or you're finding about how you react to words in that conversation.
Thanks, Coralea. I can't tell if the sound just cut out for me or not.
Yeah, does that resonate for you, A?
Yeah, Ace says, thanks, I can try
Okay.
that. I do have a friend.
Okay,
Yeah, and Ace saying, yes, all these have resonated.
thank you.
Great. Great. It looks like Drasmin's got a little bit more to share, and I want Anissa to have a chance too. So Drasmin, if you could just be quick, and we've got one more question.
Yes, super quick, just tapping into what Laureli was saying of, you know, practicing communication. I shared in the chat a model of communication that I developed that I've used for almost a decade. And you know, it's just a wheel, an octagon wheel. Take a look at it, and it's a way to just learn how to communicate boundaries, needs, desires, you know, appreciation and gratitude. And practicing that within self or with a safe friend can help you just strengthen that confidence within you to express, especially the difficult. That is all.
Great, thanks, Drasmin. Yeah, I looked at your handout. That's great. All right, Anissa, do you have some things?
Yeah, I just had a few images come up. The first one was a cat's face, and one of the eyes was missing. And so for this, it's about your curiosity, your keenness, and your intellect is getting stifled. It's getting overlooked by this boss in your workplace, and that your senses are heightened, and that you are very curious. You do have this keenness, but it's like it's getting overlooked. The next imagery was of a movie theater, and in the audience was you as a silhouette. So you were watching and letting your life right now go by you. You're not taking as much initiative or maybe being as an active as participant that you could be. And then it's time for you to really try to become more of the script writer and the director of your life. It's time to take action if you feel that you have the energy to do so. The next image was an older record player. So I feel that you're hearing a lot of negative messages over and over, especially from your childhood. And it's really time to lift the needle off of the record and start working on new messaging, repeating things to yourself that are positive, repeating. And if you can't do positive things, at least doing neutral statements about yourself. Another image was of an ice cream sandwich. So joy that, or a childhood moment that brought you joy. Is there something right now that you could tap into and to bring you that sweetness, that childhood treat back in? Another image was Jack Skeleton from The Nightmare Before Christmas. And the big thing about that is that that character was a dreamer and they wanted to bring in celebration and new ideas and new concepts to their world. So I encourage you to share more of your ideas and your concepts if you are able to with your boss. I know that it might be challenging and difficult to do so, but I just feel again with that curiosity and that keenness and that intellect that you have, that you're very you have such wisdom to give and such ideas to share that it'd be very, very beneficial if you could find a way to do that. Again, a lot of it's easier said than done, but those were the imagery that came through.
Great, thank you. Anyone have anything else brief to share with A before we, yeah, A said everything resonates. Yeah, those all resonate.
I
DoveLight, go
keep
ahead.
I keep getting the throat chakra very strongly with this beautiful blue color. So any or you could do like ABC or numbers, but the purpose is to allow your feelings to be expressed. You could be like 1, 2, 3, but 1, 2, 3, 4, but 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, or A, B, C, D. I don't know if you get the idea. The purpose is to get the emotion behind the words. If it's a little bit for you difficult to express yourself verbally with words, to use it like, or even sounds, because the vibration of the emotional charge is the guilt and the shame behind that is what's holding your voice. But in the throat chakra needs to be open. So talking to a friend, singing a song, doing light languages, it's about moving that energy. So in Anissa's suggestions are also very beautiful, but if you choose to do so, it will be very beneficial for you to express that by moving that energy. I just wanted to honor that because I keep seeing throat chakra very, very blue bright, and it will be helpful.
Great, great. Yeah, and Drasmin's got another comment in the chat too. So yeah, A's in the chat, so A's catching all these. All right, great. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, A, for your question. Anything else you want to say about that, feel free to put it in the chat. All right, and so panelists, we've got one more question. We've got a few more minutes left. And if anyone needs to leave right at time, let me know and make sure you can close out, or we'll just take our other question and we'll get that all done and then we'll close up the panel after that. All right, let's see. So Morgan, if you want to come up on the, okay, you gotta leave by, yeah, so let's make sure that you, let's have you share first. And then after you share, Drasmin, tell everyone again who you are, what you do, how they can reach you. I'll put your information in the chat and that way it's on the video too. So, all right, Morgan, if you want to be up on stage, Morgan, just turn on your video and I can pull you up here in Spotlight and then you can ask your question. And you can always just unmute and share that way too. But okay, great. Let's get you up here. Great.
So my question is more so around relationships. Like every relationship that I've had since I was like 15 years old always ends in cheating. I'm very much a fixer, and it just seems like I learn something and it gets worse each time. I struggle a lot with that. So I'm feeling that a lot of it is connected to my inner child, because my mom and dad were together since they were 16, like they've been together 30 years, but my dad was a bad alcoholic. And just with their like connection of my mom not giving up on him constantly, I feel like I get stuck in that role of not giving up on people until I find out they cheated on me and I'm forced out. I never leave on my own. I'm cheated on and then I leave. And then when I reflect back on the relationship, I'm like, okay, so there was all these behaviors and signs that I should have left way before it got to this point. So my question is like, I guess, relationships on how I could heal myself to be in a healthier relationship than repeat what I've seen probably with my parents and probably continued down like my generations. If that makes
Great.
sense.
Yeah, great question. Great question. Well, yeah, so Drasmin, as soon as you're ready, we'll have you go. If you don't feel ready yet.
Yeah, I'm feeling a little tapped on my voice. I've literally been talking since 9 a.m. So I'm gonna leave you. I love recommending books because they're just amazing. But Morgan, what I would highly recommend for you is really developing a relationship with self. And the book that I would recommend for you is Women Who Run with Wolves by Clarissa Pinkola Estes. I don't know if you've heard of this book or not. I'm on my third reread. I'm actually running a women's circle right now, but it is just a really amazing book that helps you understand the different aspects of being a woman and how we show up in relationship to self and why showing up in relationship to self is then will attract someone who can hold the many faces of woman, because a woman is very multifaceted. You know, we have highs, lows, hot, cold, yes, no, I'm horny today, don't touch me 2 minutes later. You know, these are just the different aspects of women. And reading this book, I've read it, you know, I'm on my third read, has really helped me just heal a lot of those like attachment wounds, core trauma wounds. You know, I'm sure you've heard like a lot of other recommendations that I've shared, so those apply as well. But I'll leave that as the gold nugget for you to dive into. And the book is actually a collection of stories. So each chapter is a story that you can just, you know, read slowly and digest. There's reflection, there's you know, there's different ways. It's like a short story and then like unpacking the story of how that applies to women specifically. I call it the Woman's Bible. Okay, sending you so much love, Morgan.
Thank you.
And Drasmin, just tell us again about who you are, what you do, how people can reach you, what your special is. I put it in the chat just now too.
Yes, thank you. So I am Drasmin. I am a trauma-informed empowerment coach, soul purpose activator, and multidimensional sound healer. I offer Reiki and tarot sessions live over Zoom as well in person here in Eugene, Oregon. I create self-guided, downloadable content to empower your being experience, as well as hands-on coaching intensives to shift you from surviving to thriving in mind, heart, body, spirit, so you can fully step into your most authentic, aligned self. I also create spiritual poetry art and have a published book of meditation poetry. And you can connect with me. The links are on my Facebook page, and also in the chat, and also in the event page. Aleph Drasmin, you're welcome to connect with me directly. All my links are in my bio.
And just if you could say it so it's in the video too.
Say what?
Your email and your website.
Oh, yes. Hi. My my email is Drasmin, my name, and then dream, DREAM, works, like Disney DreamWorks, but Drasmin DreamWorks at gmail.com. And my website, my active website is my art website, but you can connect with me through there, is DD OM Spa, SPA, DDOMSpa.com.
Great. Thank you so much. It's been lovely having you on the panel. Thank you so much for sharing all your wisdom, being part of the community. Yeah, so stay in as long as you want, and I know you have to go. All right, great. So DoveLight is next.
Thank you. The first thing that I was picking up very strongly is that you will benefit from the traditional therapies like mental health counselor or a counselor or holistic psychotherapy, something in the long term, because I feel like there is so many layers here that you generally need the time to process. So even though many of us offers holistic health, you will also benefit from that balance between masculine and feminine, right and left brain. Just straight up, they're telling me to consult with an expert. There is something else that needs to be processed that hasn't been said yet. The second thing, definitely there is a loyalty to your mom, the loyalty to the memory of how she endured and even self-sabotage her own life for something others, that even it feels like safer to go back to what you know. But in reality, it's because I'm picking up, if it doesn't resonate, there is a safer part of you that will feel safe alone. So in reality, there is like a perspective when it feels energetically that you know this is not gonna last forever, and you can go back to your comfort zone. So I feel like there is a pull. It doesn't have to be that way. There is, trust me, there is men out there, women out there, people out there who can genuinely love you for who you are, can respect you, and will not expect you to save them. But we have to go back again to that place of safety when it feels safe to be somebody, not what we know, but what will become. Definitely, they will love you to start doing more meditation and working on yourself. Like, I'm picking up angels now. The angels will love to tell you that they will love for you if you choose to do so, to allow more this phase of your life to go back to self-love, to go back to self-meditation, because you have this awareness of, okay, I picked up this from my mom or from the past. I am aware of that, but that's on the mental level. In the emotional level, we still have this child who's looking for their attention or the love of their mom and their dad. Like, it's confused. It's really confused. So that's the part that needs to be progressed, because this is the energy frequency that is attracting this situation over again. And it's funny that you can actually set that, but then you act at. You see how there is different frequencies, this contradiction. This is why it will highly benefit you if they're telling me if you will choose to do also traditional therapy to process everything that has happened. I got to save your mom or save your dad or try to fit in through them. They'll keep telling me that. Now the blessing here is you are allowing yourself to don't repeat this story. Oh, and my heart right now is hurting, so there is definitely some emotional pain that needs to be processed before you enter if a next relationship, because it needs to come out. It's like, yeah, I'm feeling like physically now in my heart it needs to come out. But you have to have no judgment whatsoever for yourself, for your parents or others. That's is going to bring you to healing. And remember, it's very important to allow a space for the hurt and the sorrow to come out without judgment. That's okay, because we need it. We will not go to forgiveness or love and light and everything without first acknowledging what we were feeling at the moment. If you were a child who needed their parents at that moment, who needed to feel safe, needed support, you can be angry about it. You can ask for it. You can say it aloud, because it's that part of you, the little one who wanted that. And so we give a safe space to process that. So as an adult, you are not being consciously or subconsciously being guided by that little kid who's still looking to their parents through the next relationship. That's where I'm picking up very strongly for now. I'm going to tell you something. If a soul before coming to this planet has an agreement to meet you, is their destiny to be with you, no matter what's happening, no matter what's going on, no matter if you don't believe you're good enough, it will come to get you. It will come to meet you. This is a soul frequency, soulmate partner, where you can genuinely experience love in a healthy way. But in order to get to that vibration, if you choose to do so, you need to heal and do your process. So we can change your perspectives, because there is a possibility, there is a healthy love, somebody who can actually respect you and love you, and you can co-create with this person. This type of relation exists. We just need to change the perspective and the energy. with that being said, I don't want to overwhelm you too much, but they definitely, please ask to your angels, talk to them. They will guide you. There's definitely some ancestral grandmas as well. They're coming up. There is a lot of ancestral healing because they know what you're passing through. I don't think this was the first time they in the woman lineage that somebody has to sacrifice for the other as well. But they will guide you. You just have to ask them and meditate, meditate and take it easy. But focus on the positive because you have this powerful love for yourself to be guided to a different future than the one your parents did. And you are aware of that, which is a beautiful gift that you're giving to yourself. So please don't give up. Don't give up.
Thank you. That resonates a lot because I do go to counseling with the therapist. I have been for like 2 years, and we noticed that I have so much empathy that I justify everything that's happened, but I don't let myself feel it. So we've been doing a lot of work of like safely feeling emotions, and it's to the point it's like I can't cry unless I'm with that therapist, and like she just keeps poking and asking me why and poking until I can get that emotion out because I've just pushed it down and just kept going forward as like survival. So it's really like, yeah, that is what I need to do. And like I can see like my grandmother too, like just kind of I never met my mom's parents. My mom was orphaned at a really young age, so she had that very strong independence. So like when you were speaking about my mom, like and that independence and like her issues of like not wanting to be alone, but like she can do everything by herself and she doesn't need any help. It's like that comes from that whole line of where she was orphaned at 16 and thought she was on her own for a very long time and only had my dad. But then I see like my father's grandmother who wouldn't take anything for anyone, would tell them to shut up and get out or do whatever and be like that strong woman. So it's like I can see her saying to me like, care about yourself, let them chase you, don't chase after them, don't try to fix them, let them come try to be with you.
I would highly recommend you if you feel called to do so, also family constellations, and I can recommend actually a mental health counselor who does it online, because it will help you also with the disentanglement, because you are meant to be healing this part of the ancestral line by healing yourself. You don't have to take more than what you're meant to pass through it, because sometimes it can get overwhelming when the ancestors see, hey, she has the light, she can heal us, let's come, we can hold on to it. It's both things. They do their healing in the other side and that affects us, and we do healing here in this side and affect them, but it has to be balanced on both sides. Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Perfect. Yeah.
Thank you, DoveLight. All right, Coralea is next, and then Coralea's going to close out.
She's muted.
Yeah, and I can't see anything, so I can't tell what's happening. Okay.
Okay, sorry, I was focused. I'm like losing it. So thank you so much, Morgan, for being vulnerable and asking this question. And I really appreciate the feedback and all of the receptiveness that you've been giving. And I pulled a couple cards from you, and what I really like, with the therapy and then the suggestions and things like that. So taking what it is that you have from the experiences, right? And instead of feeling like they're a waste of your time and that they were like bad experiences, really look at what it was that you didn't like from them, that you're never going to accept from another relationship with that, and throw it away to burn. And then take the other spots that you learned about yourself and about those people and those red flags and the seeing and the knowing, and take that and put it on a compost pile, like if we were to look at our life as a garden, and really use that to cultivate the next growth in your garden. And instead of, like this death rebirth kind of experience of like those things are gone, and really allowing it to not sit with you by burning what doesn't serve you and then using what it is that does. and taking that with you. And then also, like, by doing that, I feel like a ritual surrounding celebration of what you've been through, what you're no longer going to receive, and what you are claiming as your full power, knowing that you are here to receive joy and love, and that is your birthright. You're meant to be here to do that. And I agree with the ancestral healing. There's a lot of weight on your shoulders of what you had contracted and have expectation wise of like what growth you're going to like be in. And so I feel like having a ritual surrounding this burning and cultivating experience, and like your new like kink ward with people that you want to be with is no. Right? Like really exercising that no, and knowing that you can go out and you can have fun with your friends, and you could go out and you can have fun with men. Or when conversations go to relationship points, like really allowing yourself to, because it seems like there was a lot of programming for, there wasn't a lot of no's or boundaries around that. And so I feel like that's something that you're probably definitely working with your process therapist about. And right.
Yeah.
And so I was really picking up on that. So it's like more celebrating like your joy, like what you have, like that you're not with somebody like that right now, like having yourself a party, like inviting your friends to celebrate that, because we focus on what didn't happen or what didn't work out. We don't really focus on like actually what we came out with, which was like, you know, a lot. Because a lot of people leave shitty like cheating relationships with baggage like that you can't let go of. These are things that you're able to really move through, and I'm hopeful for the movement. And I want to just say that that's what I wanted to say about that. If you wanted to say anything back to me before I talk about my things, I would love to hold space for your response.
Okay. I really feel like that's saying no, because I realize that me and my therapist have been working on boundaries, because people cross my boundaries very easily. I don't put them up because I'm always that person who's really just trying to be kind, but really what she said, it's like it's not that you're being kind, it's that you're being nice, because you're being walked over. If you're being kind, you still have that like boundary, because we talked about the difference of being kind and being nice. So being nice, you do something and get walked over, but being kind, you still hold up your boundary. So we've been working on a lot of boundaries. And in my relationship that just ended from cheating, I realized that there's a lot of boundaries crossed. There's a lot of things that just didn't care. But at the same time, in that relationship, I had my intuition was I couldn't trust him from the very start. It was like I thought he was cheating on me, and I thought he was cheating on me for the full time, like accusing him. And it was like, I'm not. And then all of a sudden it came to light that you were this whole time. So it's like my intuition knew, but I just didn't have the evidence. And because of that, and I was still in therapy, I was working on how to build trust, how to not be like, so I was still working on like issues that I would have in future relationships, in that relationships. So when you were speaking about like learning from it, it's like I did do a lot of learning despite him cheating and proving me right in a sense. I still sat down and did that counseling to not be reactive, to learn how to like not let my anxiety control me and work through those things that I can still take forward. So that really was like, okay, that wasn't a total waste of my time. It was still a bunch of learning that I did that will help me in the future that I can't just let go of.
Yeah. And I want to, like really encourage you to have a party. And I feel like the party should be people that you feel really safe around, and like going and doing situations or meeting people, or like going around and just like practice saying no. Like practice saying no. Like when you're at the grocery store and people are like, how was your day? You could be like, no, you know what? No. Like
Just
you
no.
don't know them. The grocery store person has to just sit there and they'll be like, okay. Like they're not gonna like confront you on that. They're gonna be like, okay, this person stating a boundary and that's a no. And like safe people like that, sometimes it's really good to practice with. You know, like when the waiter comes and they're like, do you want dessert? And you're like, no. Do you want
Yeah.
to drink? Another drink? No. You know, instead of being like, you know what, I'm not going to have that tonight. Just like practice saying the word no, you know, as a complete and total sentence. It'll feel so weird at first, but that's really what was coming through. So
I work 2 jobs, and one's with a like with a friend for her daughter who works who with autism, and one is like my degree. So I was supposed to leave the job to go to the job for my degree, but they just couldn't find someone to replace the worker. So I'll help out every now and then. They're like, "Are you available?" But in reality, I could say, "No, I'm not available," and they would be completely okay with it and not think any less of me. So I think it's a lot of like, you know what, say no and take the day off as well. Because like I'll work Monday to Friday one job, and then I'll work the weekends to help her out with her kid with autism. But it's like, I don't have to do that. It's always, can you help me out? And you don't have to, sweetheart. It's fine if you are busy. And I always jump to help. But I think it's a lot of like, say no to take time for yourself.
yeah, because you're meant to receive that joy, that love, that celebration. Like that's very, very like I feel like you have like an ancestor that's passed over that's like kind of like, it's really interesting.
Yeah, we used to call my grandmother the Iron Lady. She was going to do what she wanted anyway, and no one could control her. She, at 75, went on every roller coaster in Disney World. She was like,
That's
so, like,
probably her. I'm like, somebody's
yeah.
aggressive, like being like, she needs to say no, she needs to stop doing it, like have fun and live her life and do what she wants. And like, you know, so yeah, and like I could go on and on. And so I want to drop out of that, if that's okay, and step into my telling people who I am mode, and like offering you and anybody else who's here, I'm doing a special. If you book a reading with me through this, then I will give you a full reading, which is $150 at a price that's $111, which is my friend's discount. And you just DM me or email me. I have Instagram. It's Hey Coralea, HeyCoralea. And then my email is hartcoralea@gmail.com, HartCoralea. And on my Instagram, I have a link tree to like my TikTok and my YouTube and all those things. I'm going to be moving more online and doing more of that content creating and things like that, and kind of stepping into more of that mode and stuff. So I'm just like available if you want to message me or get a reading. I think that me and you would do really well, like working through, and like can like to you and your therapist. And I think that I loved everything that happened here. I'm so grateful to be able to be a part of this teenager inner journey. Thank you, Laureli, for setting this up and like holding down the fort for everything. I really appreciate your hard work and dedication and your inner teenager in that way. And bow to you so much. And thank you to everybody else who's on this line, all of the practitioners. I loved what you have said, and I really liked holding space for everybody that was here that didn't speak. Thank you so much. Reach out to me if you have any questions or any like thing that you want to say. Just feel open to discuss that with me. I'm doing lots of fairs and things that are going on. I make floral crowns, and a lot of embodiment tools to be in your inner child and be free to be creative and with your expression of self. So yeah, that's my gig and that's my info.
Great. Thank you so much, Coralea. It's been lovely having you here. I've got all your information in the chat too with your link tree so someone can find all the different things.
Thank you so much. Have a good one.
And oh, and DoveLight shared, you look beautiful, fairy yourself.
Oh, thank you.
Yay, yes. All right, thank you, Coralea. All right, Anissa, do you want to go or you want me to go?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
You
I'll go.
choose. Yeah.
So the first imagery that I got was an open book. And so I really want you to keep reflecting on your own life so far and the life story that you've written, and also start focusing on what you want in the future so you can manifest that, getting it really concretely down, maybe even in a journal, what you want the next part of your book to be. The next imagery was and I don't know what it's called, but it's with the fireplace, the thing you compress to put oxygen onto the fire, you fan the flame. I don't know what it's called. But I feel like in a lot of your relationships, you're applying oxygen and you're really fanning the flame for the other person. You're not focusing in on yourself enough. You're not focusing on nurturing yourself, fanning your own flame, keeping your own passions alive, that you really focus on others. The next imagery I got was an older corded telephone. So I feel that there's a kind of a difficult conversation you need to have with someone, maybe even possibly yourself, where there aren't any distractions and you're literally tethered to this telephone where you have to have the conversation. I don't know if you've been holding off on having a hard conversation, but it's time to have one. The next imagery I got was of a cake made of crepe with different layers of frosting. It doesn't really matter, just there's a lot of layers. And so I would like it if you would think of all the different layers to uncover with the relationship that you've had with your parents, not only as that they've had as a relationship together, but as individuals, and think of it and reflect on what it was like, how you thought of them when you were a child, how you thought of them as a teenager, and how you think of them now as an adult, and what can you learn from them? What instability, what love, what forgiveness? You shared a lot that you've learned a lot from them. And I also wonder what you can learn from them as individuals outside of also being in a relationship. Another imagery that I got was of a fast food cheeseburger. So this is about making sure that you're really taking time to nurture yourself. Are you eating foods that nurture your body? Are you drinking enough water? And are you nurturing yourself with good thoughts and love and compassion? It's really time to be healing your physical body as you're healing your emotional and spiritual one through counseling. And the last imagery I got was of a sea turtle. So I find sea turtles to be very majestic creatures and very graceful as they propel themselves forward. So I see that you're always going to be propelling yourself forward. You always are going to be moving forward despite the relationships you've made it through. So also thinking about with the sea turtle is protecting yourself, because you have your home on your back. So caring for yourself, caring for your home, caring for your shell, making sure that, again, that self-love, that self-nurturing with eating and positive messaging coming into play as well. So those were the imageries that I got for you.
That also resonates. So my counselor is actually through an eating disorder clinic. So the nurturing myself, it's like I definitely don't very well. Like I'm at the point where it's like something is better than nothing. I'm trying to eat, but then I'm not doing the steps of mechanical eating every 3 to 4 hours. Sometimes it gets missed and it's like I eat something at 8 a.m. and then I don't eat something till 5 p.m. because I'm working and I'm jumping around. So it's a lot of like, and I know like, and I have a degree in social work. So like I've done a lot of like psychology, sociology and stuff like that. So I know like my brain is very aware of what I need to do and should do. But then it's just like not. So I definitely a lot of like, okay, I got to take like some trail mix, some protein shakes or something with me if I'm always on the road. so I don't neglect to eat and nurture myself throughout it and take care of myself and give that time and space to like relax and take a bath and eat some food, drink some water. And the eating really struck me because I was like, yep, I'm really struggling with that a lot still.
Yeah,
But it's a lot of like,
it's so much easier for me to say, but it's just that's the message for you. So do with it what you can, what you will, and the best that you can.
yeah, I find it so really cool that like you guys each gave me a little bit of different information, but it all hit something that's in my life too.
Oh, wonderful.
And the layers, like you said in the cakes, like there is that layer of family, there is that layer of relationships that I've been through, and then there's that layer of my own self that I have layer. It's like I need to heal through it all rather than push things aside and keep going forward. And I will keep going forward. That's just how I am. But it's like taking the time to realize that it's okay to sit where I'm to work on the healing and move forward and like have that home on my back like the shell.
Yeah.
I want to share a little bit more too. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Right. So, and the things that came through for me very much in alignment with what Anissa shared. The number one thing first thing I want to share is I encourage you as you talk about all these things, instead of talking about present tense, that you start saying them in past tense. Instead of saying like, I never take care of myself, say, I never used to take care of myself. I haven't taken care of myself. You say so many of these things in present tense. So I encourage you to say them in past tense. We know they're true in past tense. So say it in a way that at least leaves some openness about the future. So the way you say it in your head and the way you say it to other people.
Yeah. Change the tone of it to move forward with it. Like that's how it used to be this time. Yeah.
Right. And then so even though unfortunately you were right with this last guy, so from the beginning your intuition was right, did you celebrate that you were right? Your intuition is spot on.
I don't think I celebrated, but I think I should.
There's an
'Cause, like,
opportunity, right? You're good, right?
yeah.
But you have lessons learning to listen to it, but you're right.
Yeah. And to like, you know what, if I'm feeling off about something, it probably isn't just my anxiety.
And then, oh goodness, I totally was looking back at your relationships with your parents too. And so for me, the telephone cord or your cords connected to your parents. And it just feels like you very much are over connected and overly attached in the relationship with them. So stuff there to explore and loosen and cut. And so my advice really is going in two directions. So before you shared about that you're working on feeling the things, I was going in the direction of having you overstate how extreme you're allowing things to be or what you think you're worthy of and deserve in a bad way so that you can feel how hard it is. I'll give you some examples. And I had a food analogy, but I came up with some other analogies now that I know that food is a thing. And then also, do you have any children?
No, I don't have any children, but I work with a lot of children.
You work with a lot of kids. Okay, so you can do this if there's any child in your life that's important to you or imagining if you had a child. And so I have some strong things to say to cut things, but I also have some things to make you really feel what's going on. So, oh goodness, what did I say? So for example, and these would be things that you could say to deeply feel them and find out what happens feeling them. So even if you just said, I have to do it all alone. I just do. I have to do it all alone. I have to do everything all alone.
Yeah.
You know, to really say that and to feel that. Or I first started off with I only deserve crumbs, but then so food's a thing. So I only deserve a little bit of air, like a little bit of oxygen. Or I only deserve a little bit of light. I only deserve a little bit of time to sleep. You know, so make explicit and make it more extreme maybe than what's actually true, but so that you can feel more of what's under, what it's like, what you're doing yourself.
Yeah.
What happens just as I say these things? What do you imagine about that?
It's definitely a fear of being alone. Like I do like see myself as a teenager by myself, like just crying in my room, like knowing my life was on eggshells. And like I think it was a lot of like, I have a younger sibling, but she was more so lucky because by the time she hit her teenage years, my dad decided to be sober. But
Yeah.
like I dealt with the brunt of it. I was the kid that was hauled out of bed and put in the middle of the argument kind of thing, where like I remember a time where mom took me out of bed and started yelling at my dad saying that she doesn't want you drinking anymore. She doesn't want you doing this, and just like kind of pinning me in that situation against them. So like it was a lot of like feeling alone because no one else went through it, and feeling alone because my sister never went through what I went through. So kind of
Right. So,
feeling like the black family.
yeah. So what I'm encouraging you to do, and this is, I don't want you to reinforce these beliefs. I want you to face these beliefs.
Yeah, face
Saying
them
like,
and feel them.
yeah, like I deserve to only be alone. I deserve to have to hold the weight for everyone.
Yeah.
Like what's it like if you, I don't know which of these things helps you connect more, but if you stay, like if you just say one of these, to say it in a way that you let yourself believe it, what does it feel like?
I
Are you
feel
able to
it
feel it?
like I've it's not as strong as it used to be when I was like younger and like feeling these emotions crying, but like I feel it in my chest. Like I feel like the ache in my chest, or like the drop in my chest, and like I guess like my heart, like I can feel it there, like in my chest. Like I feel it like, and it's not so much anger, but it's like sadness. Because
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
if I feel angry, I'll feel it coming down my arms. But if I feel sad, it's like the feeling in my chest.
Yeah, so these are strategies you could use to help you feel how like your subconscious has created it for you. And then the thing you could do too is if you had a child that was doing the same things that you are, like if you had a girl that was growing up and when she's in her, her young 20s, she's only choosing partners that cheat on her and she can't say no. Like what would you want for her? What would you tell her? So if you can let
Oh, I
yourself
would tell her
imagine, say it, go ahead.
like, and I would tell her she deserves better. And like, there's as much as I like tell myself, or like if I'm in that conversation with my friends, it's like, yeah, I deserve better, I can do better. And then it's like, why do I not want better?
Well, admit
So it's more
it's
so,
a little different if you put something, it could be a pillow, it could be a little creature, anything, and say it as if this is your 23-year-old daughter and say it to her.
yeah,
You deserve better. Because getting you to say it out like that, I think it's, yeah. If you
yeah,
can let yourself
definitely.
feel more of it saying it to her. And then, so those are some things. And then just one other thing too was, bringing up something in you that imagining your parents. Here I have these two things right here, so I'll just do this, your parents, and just saying I'm not responsible for you, I'm not responsible for you anymore,
Yeah,
and having you practice saying that, things like that. And no, I'm not going to look at you, and turning away. So there's versions of no specifically to them.
yeah,
Oh, and I love the examples what Coralea was saying before too about practicing saying no. So like this would be a bigger, harder thing, and an easier thing would be to meet with a friend, with a good friend where you feel safer. Have them ask you questions that you don't want to, like, have them ask you, like, will you give me your shirt? Or will you cut off all your hair for me? Have them ask you wild, crazy things that you want to say no to, so that with them you could say
yeah,
no, right? And then have them, as a way of practice, yes, is ask them if they could get you a half a glass of water. So, and if this feels okay, if you can do this, right? This is with a good friend where it's safer. They go get you half a glass of water, they bring it back. And if you're able to say, that's not exactly half, I want a little more, I want a little less, and send them back to the sink.
yeah,
So these are other ways of practicing too, where it's a safe friend.
yeah. I do have a couple safe friends who would help me with that, because they've been around for so long that they can see the issues that I have with those boundaries in my life. I'm 25, but I wasn't allowed out past like 12:30 during the week because I was staying home with my mom, and mom was like, well, I can't go to bed unless you're here and I gotta work, so you gotta be home. So like the only time I could be out past 12:30 was on the weekends when she would be willing to come get me at 3 o'clock or like be willing to stay up later. So like it was a lot, and I did a lot of like pushing that with my therapist this year, where I wouldn't come home at 12 o'clock or 12:30, or I'd like not tell her where I was and just go out and do it. Like it was a lot of pushing, and there was a lot of like back and forth, and we worked on like a lot of disengaging of just walking away, of me just either walking out of the house so she can't deny me, or like walking down to my room and saying I'm not engaging in this conversation. I still really struggle with it because I don't like that confrontation, so I still need a lot of practice.
Yeah, and so you're still living you're still living with them.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
is.
Yeah, that's really hard. They totally have you all mixed up in all their stuff. Yeah, so and it's good you're only 25. You're doing a ton by age 25. But yeah, so untangling all this, it's a big thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's been a lot of work with, and like being so self-reflective and seeing and looking at the puzzle pieces. It's like, okay, so this comes from dad, this comes from mom, this comes from that relationship over here, this, so like I need to figure out, okay, so this was a trait I learned here, so now I need to sit here and do this to get out of that. And it's a bunch of untangling the webs and like the cake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember when you were a teenager, were you allowed to do sleepovers?
Yes.
I would encourage you, you're 25, do some sleepovers at your friends' houses. Get away from your parents for 24 hours.
Yeah. I definitely need to.
Be really good. Do trades with them if you need to. Cook for them instead. Like do something so you feel totally good about staying at their place. But yeah, go stay at your friends' places and experiment with that. Yeah, DoveLight's got some things to share too, and then we've got to close out too. Go ahead, DoveLight.
If it gets too overwhelming, the healing journey, just allow yourself to step away, do something different like hip hop or going to the movies or something, because it can get overwhelming sometimes. I'm not saying not only in your case, but when you keep going from something to heal to the next thing to heal to the next thing to heal to the next thing to heal, you never allow us space to generally just be, as if we're constantly broken, constantly looking what's wrong for us. And that is true. You might pick up things that are coming from your father, from ancestor, from your mother, from the neighbor, from the past relationship, because they do affect us. But we missing the point that at the end of the day, those energies are affecting your own energy, your own essence. But if you are able to come back to your own essence, the boundaries come. Your soul frequency gets aligned. I feel for the past few minutes that I heard you speaking, it's almost like your body and your soul are kind of separate. And this is why sometimes you know logically that you have to eat, but you don't do it because you are aware mentally that you are supposed to do it, but you don't. So it is, again, it's the connection from your soul to your body, because your body generally loves your soul. So we have to come back to be in touch with that. I will definitely highly recommend you, when it gets too overwhelming, do something different, like different than what you're healing. No, I'm not saying to deny your healing or that it's not important, because it is, just to allow a moment to, I don't know, go eat something and salads with something, go on a boat, a park, something different than healing, just to allow the space to process and move away, to breathe basically. And the second thing, any practice of meditation will definitely help you, because I feel like the most simple thing for you is just to feel your own energy. When you are able to feel your own energy, your soul is integrating to your body. So just automatically you will become more mindful, as you don't even have to think about eating. Your own body will tell you in a way that it feels more genuine to follow through, because you don't want to wait until you really get physically sick for you to listen to your body. And when it's not your body punishing you, it's actually your body love you and it's trying to hold you. But it is the basically it's the self-love. the self-love, and you are doing great because you're not giving up on yourself. But just know that even the healing process needs to have their space too in your life, as many other things to balance it out. Otherwise it gets too much overwhelming, like always looking for the broken thing, the next thing to fix, and that's not healthy either. I just want to honor that, and thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
You're muted, Laureli.
Whoops, yes. So thank you, the three of us, yeah, and the other practitioners that were here for all of our feedback for you, Morgan. Yeah, thank you so much, Morgan. Thanks for being willing to
Thank
jump in
you.
and let us share about you.
Yes,
All
thank you
right.
so much.
You are welcome. All right. Well, thank you everyone for being here for our panel on healing your inner child, our teenager. Thanks so much, Anissa and DoveLight, for being here. Let's have you each share, who you are, what you do, and how people can reach out to you. You're special. We have a few people still here with us, and and they'll be all here in the video. DoveLight, do you want to go first?
It's almost midnight. It's midnight here.
Yeah, it's late.
But I'm
Oh,
very, but I do love readings. I do love spiritual readings. Like, I love it. So I'm very grateful. Thank you, Laureli, for holding the space. Thank you, Anissa. Thank you, everyone who came. Yeah, it's going to be recorded. So I'm just going to do like a little. Niño, 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 niña de mi amor, niña del corazón. Just allow the space to feel your inner child. Just the simple things, just allow space to breathe, to feel your body. I'm very grateful to be here. I love these topics. I love readings. You know, you can find me at DoveLightOracle.com. I will be grateful to read for you. My special is the coupon summer. You can write summer for a 20% discount, any reading of choice or any healing session. Perhaps you need to clear codes or a past life or ancestral healing. Bogle One Crystal is extremely good in this energy field to release any inner blockages. Even if you don't know what it is exactly, we go to the root cause and we remove it from your energy field. And it's beautiful because you will see how your life is start unchanging. And I can tell you exactly how it is. You just know it's a given that it's going to be changing. It's amazing. It's a gift from Dr. Marcel Vogel, which I love so much. And yeah, please find me at DoveLightOracle.com, and thank you, everybody. Yeah, please use the coupon, the discount.
thank you so much, DoveLight. Anissa.
Well, thank you so much, everybody, for being here. Everyone who's listening. Again, I'm Anissa Jade. I do intuitive imagery readings, and I can be found at AnissaJade.com.
Thank you so much, Anissa. And you're special, our readings by donation. And I'm Laureli Shimayo. I'm an intuitive eye reader, body psychology coach, and matchmaker, and run the MeWe events. You can find out more about my work at intuitiveeyereading.com, matchmakingsoulmates.com, and about all of our events at MeWeFairs.com. We've got another panel tomorrow at 10 a.m. PT, so it's only in 13 hours from now. It is mindfulness and meditation to reach higher spiritual planes. And then we got a practice circle tomorrow afternoon at 4 p.m. So come practice your gifts with peers. Thank you everyone so much for being here. So grateful to do this all together. And thank you.